Tigers in conference play.
Syracuse has played Clemson the last 2 years probably better than anybody else in the country, and that includes Alabama. They beat them 2 years ago at the Dome. They'll see them in week 3.
Mark Packer on Golick and Wingo. Tonight's game, Georgia Tech at Clemson, is at 8 Eastern on the ACC Network. And there's a doubleheader on ESPN starting at 7 Eastern with UCLA at Cincinnati, followed by BYU hosting 14th-ranked Utah. Saturday's game between Florida State and Boise State will be played at noon in Tallahassee. It had been scheduled for a nighttime kickoff in Jacksonville, but was moved because of Hurricane Dorian. Nets forward Wilson Chandler gets a 25-game suspension for PEDs. Chandler signed with Brooklyn as a free agent after playing for the 76ers and the Clippers last season.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jags.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio.
This is Action Sports Jags on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
I got some good news and I got some bad news.
Okay.
If you wanted to watch a football game at TIAA Bank Field this Saturday, got some bad news. That's not going to happen anymore, as the Florida State Boise State game in Jacksonville has been canceled. But there is a silver lining. If you got $15 in your pocket, feel free to go online, buy yourself some tickets, and make your way over to Tallahassee, as the Seminoles will be taking on the Broncos now in Tallahassee at a noon kickoff game.
10 if you do it online beforehand.
10 if you do it online beforehand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, juice is a little more squeezable.
You got to save some bucks now.
Absolutely. But yeah, obviously I think the biggest story of the day is the hurricane that's coming in. Hurricane Dorian.
Dorian, yep.
Upgraded to a Category 4 now, apparently.
Projected to reach Category 4 by the time it gets here.
Okay.
That being the Sunshine State. As we move to its schedule, and the world of sports, of course, becomes secondhand when it comes to the safety of the people. Stuart Weber here with Austin Lane, a little ESPN 690 on a Thursday. It's a Jaguars game day, by the way. Let's not forget that fact, Austin. It is preseason game number 4. But some intriguing battles, and we'll certainly get into that. But as you said, the big story of the day, Florida State, Boise State, everyone was excited about that Saturday night kickoff, national TV here in Jacksonville, chance to show off the city to fan bases from Tallahassee and from Boise. And unfortunately, it just doesn't make sense to have it here with the impending storms of Dorian. And it's not as much the idea that Dorian is going to come hit us on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. That's not going to happen. It's the logistics and planning and traffic and emergency services, everything that's needed for a college football game, and those resources need to be diverted to other things. I mean, you're talking about taking police, firefighters, medical folks, and having them take an entire day of Saturday when they could be getting ready for everything to come over the next few days. So you certainly understand, in the name of safety, that they're making this decision. It's not an easy decision. There are certainly a lot of people who will criticize it and be unhappy about it. But look, this is just how it's going to be. This is what happens when a storm and something that can cause serious damage. And like you said, if this thing's coming in at a Category 4, it will cause serious damage.
You always have to side with the air of caution. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. So I'm not mad from that respect. As far as the city is concerned, though, I mean, how big of a blow is this to the city of Jacksonville and basically losing this game now to Tallahassee?
Oh, yeah, it hurts. It hurts from a fiscal standpoint. It hurts from a name recognition standpoint. You take a hit there because, you're going to have to refund every one of those tickets. They've already said that, by the way. So anyone who bought a ticket can now get that ticket from Jacksonville refunded as long as it was bought through this through the actual game. I'm not sure about the second and third hand party deal. That's always a big question mark, whether or not those folks will abide to that. But you can get new tickets to Tallahassee for $10 in advance, $15 game day, which is going to be a noon game now on Saturday. And by the way, it will now be on ESPN News. For those folks wondering, where am I going to be able to see this game? It was originally going to be on Big ESPN. Now it's going to be on ESPN News. So I'm sorry to replays of Sports Center. You're going to have to take a back seat because there's going to be football on ESPN News instead. And there won't be any assigned seating. So if you do want to go to that game, get there early, get inside, and go sit on the 50-yard line.
First come, first serve. I like that.
That's it.
Should be absolute chaos in that parking lot for people getting ready.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see how the Boise State fans respond to that. Listen, and this is a game that's going from prime time now to a noon kickoff, and I think that's great. You know, I understand people are upset now because there's some speculation that Tallahassee may not be getting hit at all around that time. But you got to remember here, I mean, I understand it's college football and people want to see it on the prime time, but we have to remember there's a pretty serious hurricane, well, supposedly a hurricane, tropical storm right now coming in, and there's a lot of players not only on Florida State, but I think also in Boise State that have families in Florida. And I think this noon kickoff game now kind of allows them to play the game, get it done real quick, and then those student athletes can adjust and kind of get all, their families in order and everything and handle the hurricane however they need to. So I'm a big fan of it going to noon. I understand, I mean, from the logistics side of it, going from an ESPN game now to an ESPN News game doesn't help, either brand, but it's about the safety, number one. It's about the families, and it's about the student athletes. And I thought they did a pretty cool thing there by having the game at noon.
It's interesting parallels, too, to a couple years ago when the Florida Gators game against LSU had to be canceled. And they took a lot of flack over that because of the fact that everyone thought, okay, well, the storm's not actually going to hit. Why are we making this move? Why is this all happening right now? Why? And it's because of all the things I said a second ago. It's about not necessarily the game, but everything that goes into the game and the logistics and the planning. And I mean, you think about it this way, if they have the game in Jacksonville on a Saturday night at 7:00 when the game's over, everyone's trying to leave. What if that's a time when people are trying to evacuate from South Florida? Mm-hmm. So it's not as much about Jacksonville as it is the entire state as a whole, as it is everybody who's getting ready for this, potentially life-threatening storm that's coming our way. So as we said, a Category 1 storm right now out in the Atlantic and working its way towards Florida. Where in Florida? That is to be determined. And certainly science is having a go at that and trying to figure it out. It's not easy. And the track is constantly changing because of a lot of factors that go into it. And certainly our meteorologists on Action News Jax are keeping you up to date by tracking Dorian on CBS 47 and Fox 30. So keep it locked to the TV side. Keep it locked here on the radio. Of course, WOKV on the FM side, 104.5 is definitely providing all those updates, not only locally with city leaders, but also statewide. And, of course, we get to talk about the repercussions when it comes to sports. And it comes in the college game for Florida State. It comes in the high school game. You look at some of the matchups getting wiped out already. Reigns was supposed to travel down to the Glades and take on Pahokee, the Blue Devils, one of the annual members of the Muck Bowl, if you're familiar with the Muck Bowl,
okay.
Austin.
I am not, but it sounds intriguing.
Pahokee and Glades Central. It's a local rivalry battle down there.
The Muck Bowl.
Muck Bowl, they call it.
Is there like a trophy? What's the trophy looking like?
A ball of muck.
Is it really? That's what I'm imagining.
I honestly don't know if they have a trophy for it, but there's a lot of bragging rights.
Okay.
I will say that. And a lot of really good players have come out of those two schools. But anyhow, Reigns was supposed to go play at Pahokee. It's canceled for now with the possibility to reschedule. But if you ask me, I don't know if that's going to happen just because of the fact that they don't share the same bye week. And they might try and find a way to do like a Monday game where you have a Thursday. It's complicated, obviously. Mm-hmm. But other teams are shifting their schedules around. I know Palatka moved their game up a night. They're playing tonight at North Marion, and several other local high schools are kind of shifting on the fly. I know Providence's game got moved up to 5 o'clock tomorrow at Melbourne Central Catholic. So there's a lot of shifting left and right, forward and backwards that kind of goes along with planning for a storm and getting ready for it. But you know what? This is part of it. This is part of living in Florida.
Yeah.
I grew up in South Florida, so I'm very familiar with what this is like. And it can mess with your schedule. But you know what we do here in Florida? We roll with the punches. We make sure everybody's prepared. and then we soldier on through it.
Speaking of being prepared here.
Yes.
So originally, I think the line was around 4 for Florida State. It's at 6.5 now against Boise State. One would assume if they go, they're playing the game at tally, so maybe they just wipe the line off completely, depending on the whole gambling aspect of it.
Yeah,
or else
they could. Or if you adhere to like the NFL way of doing things, home game gets you 3 points, right?
3 points, yeah.
So there you go. They added 3 points onto it, and that's kind of where they sit right now.
And this whole situation, it has to favor Florida State, obviously. I think talking about this game coming into it, I think the Boise State fans are going to be outnumbered by a long shot, regardless if the game was in Jacksonville or any other spot in Florida. But now the fact that it's at Florida State, that kind of adds a little more element to it. I'm not sure how Boise State travels, but let's be honest. I think the Florida State fan base was going to be out to at least some kind of full effect, Saturday night. So it gets switched to tally now. And, it's almost like, and I don't know if this actually helps Boise State or if it hurts Boise State. Like, the obvious answer is it hurts Boise State, right? Because this is more adversity on your team. Now, you had to play in the state of Florida against Florida State in Jacksonville. Well, now you got to change up all your logistics. You have to go to a new city. You have to get the new hotel rooms, and that's not the players. Like, the players aren't worrying about that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying you have to go to a new city now. You have to call the audible on this, call an audible on that. So it's a lot. It's a lot of logistical things that a player doesn't want to deal with, especially game week, especially the first game of the season. But also, I guess you can kind of take off it from, well, you're already kind of counted as the underdogs. The line showed that. I think America thinks that. I think anybody outside of Boise thinks that. So it's almost like you're piling on. I wonder if it almost gets to the point now for the Boise State Broncos where they feel like, listen, all the chips are against us. They have nothing to lose.
Yeah, you lead perfectly into a quote that I have pulled up here from the Boise State head coach, Brian Harsin.
Hit me with it.
Here you go. Quote, "To me, it doesn't matter where we play. We'll play in a parking lot. We'll do whatever. We just want to go play. These guys have been working extremely hard. The excitement and the game, it doesn't matter where it's at. There's no excuses whatsoever. This changes nothing as far as what we're trying to accomplish." That is Boise State's head coach Brian Harsin. He's no doubt putting that underdog mentality into his team. Mm-hmm. And you talk about how it'll affect Boise more, but I'll give you a flip side to that. How many of the Boise players, with the exception of Riley Smith, Bartram Trail stand-up, have Florida ties to where they're going to be worried about their family and getting ready for a storm? Florida State has tons of kids from Central Florida, South Florida, folks whose minds might be on other things. And that was a big thing that went into the Florida LSU deal. Mm-hmm. You have people who are trying to get their family ready for this storm and trying to make sure everything is okay on the home front. And anytime your mind is not in the right place, as I'm sure you know from your days playing, it's going to affect the way you play. And I'm sure a lot of Florida State guys have these extra thoughts. Is my house, are my parents, are my siblings, is everything going to be okay? Yeah,
absolutely. And, and we'll kind of break down this game a little bit after the next segment here, and we'll kind of get into it. But that's a fantastic point. I never, obviously playing in Murray State, Kentucky, never had to deal with any kind of hurricane issues or, bad weather. But yeah, that has to weigh on your mind if you're an athlete, of thinking like, all right, well, I have to go get ready, play the first game of the season. We had a horrible season this prior year, and now we have to go out there and play against Boise State, who a lot of people are kind of counting out. Went 10-2 last year, by the way. Just lost a heartbreaker in the Mountain West Championship. So they're no slouches, and we'll break that down a little bit later. But it's almost it's more pressure, I think, maybe on the Florida State team than it is the Boise State team. Because at this point, if you're Boise State, listen, we got to go over here, we got to go over there, whatever, wherever it is. But when we get on the field, we know what time it is. And yeah, I think the heat could be a factor. I'm not sure what the temp's going to be like on kickoff, because I've never been to Boise, but I've been around that area, and it does not get as humid as it does here. Not even close. And I think if you're going to run that, that spread offense like Florida State's going to run, that high tempo, that could be an X factor when you're playing Boise State. But at the same time, Boise State's coming in with nothing to lose. So we'll get into that after the break here a little bit. Also, preseason game number 4 for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Excited.
You watching it or not?
I'm doing sideline for the TV broadcast.
Oh, so you're definitely going to be watching
excited.
it. What stories are we watching? What players are we watching? I'm not sure if we want to pick, like 3 offensive guys, 3 defensive guys. Just
give a couple.
Yeah, we might give a couple. Who's going to make the team? Who's kind of on the outside looking in right now? We'll break all that down as well. And then maybe get a little ahead of ourselves here with Kansas City in week 1, talking about how Jalen Ramsey's going to be on Tyreek Hill nonstop. I'm not buying it.
Okay.
And that's a little tease for later in the show today.
Tease.
Yeah. So when we come back, we'll break down the Florida State-Boise State game, Jags preseason game number 4, and much, much more on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jags with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Action Sports Jags with Brent Martineau. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
I had no idea we were going to draft Blaine Gabbert. All right? Did your jaw just drop?
Yeah, it did. Did you sense the silence?
No idea. In fact, I left to go get something to eat because our pick wasn't for much longer in the draft.
You're supposed to pick 16th, yeah.
On ESPN 690.
Hey, everybody, this is Austin Lane. I used to wear number 92, and while it's a great number, 94 just might be better.
That's because Vida de Luis recently got a 94 rating. Hey, this is Brent Martineau. Vida de Luis is a locally owned tequila right here in Jacksonville, made in Tequila, Mexico, shipped directly to Jax Beach. Make your own recipes with Vida de Luis tequila, one of the smoothest tequilas you will ever taste.
For locations, recipes, and merchandise, visit VitaDeLuis.com.
You must be at least 21 to drink. Drink responsibly. Hey, everybody, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jax. Thank you for making ESPN 690 the fastest-growing sports station in Jacksonville. Everyone is loving our in-depth coverage of the Jaguars, the NFL, and all things sports. Another thing our listeners will love, your business. Let's work together and get you on the fastest-growing sports station in Northeast Florida. Call ESPN 690 today, 245-8732. That's 904-245-8732. Grow your business today on the new ESPN 690.
Football season is back. Almost. As we, the fans, anticipate the new season, Tailgaters Parking invites you to come experience the best tailgating at TIAA Bank Field. Tailgaters Parkers know that if you've never experienced Tailgaters Parking, you've never experienced tailgating at all. Tailgaters is on Talleyrand Avenue, right across from TIAA Bank Field. It's safe and secure with clean, permanent restrooms and a full-service bar and grill. Reserve your individual or group spaces now at tailgatorsparking.com.
Savings on top of huge selection on top of rave customer reviews. That's how they do the National Clearance Event at Arlington Toyota. During the National Clearance Event, you can take your pick from over 1,000 new and pre-owned on Arlington's lot. I mean, come on! 1,000 vehicles. You know you're going to find what you want and save during the National Clearance Event at Arlington. Right now, during the National Clearance Event at Arlington, buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $18,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $18,888. Or buy a 2019 RAV4 XLE from just $24,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 RAV4 XLE from just $24,888. Plus, you get the Arlington Toyota $5,000 Advantage Club with your purchase. Just one of the tons of reasons why Arlington's earned 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 7,000 Google reviews. Arlington knows how to do the national clearance sale right, but you've got to get it while the getting is good. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online 24/7 at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau, and let me be your party planner. How does this sound? 18 holes at the golf club at Southampton, followed by your fantasy football draft party. Golf and football, and oh yeah, food. Southampton has it all, including a special tailgate catering menu all fall. Call 287-PLAY. That's 287-PLAY to set up golf, your fantasy football party at the clubhouse, and give Lisa a call for your tailgate catering. 287-PLAY, and see the menu at golfsouthampton.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
Is today the day it'll finally stop raining?
We sure hope so, but it's been a very wet summer so far. This is Mike with Big Fish Roofing. Don't forget, your roof is the first line of defense against the elements. Here at Big Fish Roofing, as an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor, we are locally owned and we drive our business with quality and integrity. We do not require any down payments until your roof project is complete. You can find us at bigfishroofing.com or facebook.com/bigfishroofing. We are the roofers you can trust. We are Big Fish Roofing.
What happens when your alarm system gets triggered? Let's say you're at work and your house is getting broken into. You want the police called, right? Well, that only happens with a Safe Touch security system. You heard me, right? Yes, the law states that if an alarm is not verified, the alarm contractor must call the key holders before calling the police, giving the crooks plenty of time to clean out your home and have an easy getaway. But the Safe Touch two-way communicator verifies the holdup in just seconds, allowing the Safe Touch operators to dispatch emergency authorities in seconds. Also providing valuable information to the authorities. Customers also receive an instant text verification as well as live video of who's in your home. This video can be transferred to the police, giving them a huge advantage in the war on crime. Don't just think you're safe, know you're safe. Get the Safe Touch Advantage now and receive a free color listen and talk camera and just $5 extra for storage. Get the Safe Touch Advantage now at safetouch.com. License number EF233 with approved credit terms and conditions apply.
Will Stan Van Gundy dance at an Elton John concert? Is that something that's ever happened? Is it something that ever would happen?
No.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. Weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick and Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with our friend Brent Martineau on ESPN 690.
And welcome back to a Thursday here on ESPN 690. Not only a Thursday, but a Jaguars game day, preseason game day. Still counts as a Jaguars game day. Remember, you only get 9 of these in town every year. This one counts for the bottom of the roster guys, and we'll certainly get into that here in a little bit. Stuart Weber alongside Austin Lane, talking all things sports in Jacksonville, and not only in Jacksonville, but also, I guess, in Tallahassee, as the move was made. The Florida State-Boise State matchup set to kick off the season at TIAA Bank Field on Saturday night will now be played at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. Instead, the decision made this morning, leaders from the city, from the universities, from the state, all getting together and making that decision in the name of safety. Of course, Hurricane Dorian, it's on the way. Where it's going to hit, we shall find out. Of course, that will be determined as the track shifts and moves over the next few days. But in the name of safety, in the name of being ready, emergency preparedness is key. The game being moved out to Tallahassee for a noon kickoff on Saturday. And the school just tweeting something out, 12,000 tickets already sold. So there will be at least 12,000 people at that game on Saturday. Of course, you can go online and go get those tickets for $10, or you can pay $15 day of at the box office. All seating is going to be general admission in Tallahassee. So gates open at 10 a.m., kickoffs at 12. So during that time, you go find whatever seat you want to sit in. So if you've ever thought, man, really wish I could sit over here, get there early enough and you could sit anywhere you want. Just a little information there for you. I saw parking was free too. So Florida State really doing everything it can to accommodate people who maybe weren't expecting to go to a game this week and want to come out and support the Garnet and Gold as they take on the Orange and Blue, a different Orange and Blue.
Maybe I'll take the family. Are they serving beer in the concession stands?
I think it's in like the booster areas, the fancy areas.
How much does it cost to be a booster?
I don't know if you can just do that tomorrow.
Hey, I can donate $20 to the boosters and be like, I'm a booster now.
I mean, I'm sure there will be some tailgates right outside.
Yeah,
where you can get some morning beverages.
Sure.
mimosas or Bloody Marys or whatever else you want to drink before noon, and then be rocking and rolling. Although you led that off with, I might take the family. Will there be beer?
Yeah,
it's not contradictory at all.
What's wrong with that, man? You can drink and hang out with the family.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all good.
All right.
It's all good. I'm sure my wife would partake
in fact,
too.
Sometimes you might need to, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. That's all I'm going to say. Yes.
So of course, it's disappointing, but it's understandable. And I know a lot of people are upset. A lot of people are Twitter mad, which will always happen in these situations. You'll always have folks just getting upset because they can, and everyone's got the right to be upset about it. But sometimes you have to take a step back and look and think about the greater good and think about everything that goes into this, not only for the schools and the city, but everybody. I mean, everyone's trying to do the right thing and be prepared just in case. And if it misses us, you know what? Good. We want that to happen. We don't want the storm to affect the city of Jacksonville or anywhere in the state of Florida, but it probably will. And so changes had to be made. By the way, another bit of information sent down by one of the Boise State beat reporters saying that the team is still doing its original plan. They're going to fly into Jacksonville today. They're going to stay in Jacksonville overnight tonight, practice here tomorrow. I don't know where. I kind of want to know now just so I can go see. Although we
check them out.
We wouldn't tell everybody anyways because then people go try and see the Broncos practicing. But so they're going to.
I mean, is it really that in high demand though?
Oh yeah.
To see the Broncos practice?
Riley Smith's family will be all over it.
Okay.
If you don't know Riley Smith, one of the quarterbacks for Boise State from Bartram Trail High School. So we do have a local connection on the Boise State sideline.
Gotcha.
Last I checked, I don't believe he was going to be the starting quarterback, but it's college football. You never know.
I think the Broncos are going with the true freshman, and I got to find his name here.
Find his name for me.
Hank Bachmeier.
Oh, that's a name.
Yeah.
Hank Bachmeier.
Hammer and Hank, I guess, as the Twitter trend was calling him.
Okay.
True freshman quarterback. Yep. Boise State's returning all 5 starters along with a freshman quarterback. True freshman, and he is the first true freshman quarterback to start out the Boise State season in the school's history. Now, other true freshmen have come along and played throughout the season, but he's the first one to have that starting nod opening day. So curious to see how he can respond to all this adversity.
Yeah. And if he gets benched, maybe then Riley Smith comes in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there'll be some people cheering for that.
We always pull for the locals.
Okay.
That's kind of how that works.
Sure.
Same way with FAU. We're pulling for Nick Troney to win that starting quarterback job. Of course, they're going to be in Columbus, and I'm sure you'll hear a little bit more about that later on in the show with Brent Martineau, who is in Ohio, and everybody knows why, of course. I like that we still have the jersey here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Steph's jersey here from the olden days. Brent's wife going into her high school athletic Hall of Fame. Pretty exciting stuff. So he'll be up in Ohio, which means he's going to stop by the Horseshoe. Go check out a little Ohio State action as they take on FAU.
And he will also be calling in the show in the 5 o'clock hour as well. So we'll talk to him. Maybe he's in the process of writing a speech right now for his wife. I'm not sure how that process took part here, but we'll get all the juicy info.
But let's talk a little bit more about Florida State.
Sure.
Obviously, that's the big news, the game being moved. But as far as on the field goes, not a whole lot changes, despite the change in venue. This is a big game for Willie Taggart and the Florida State Seminoles because they want to prove that last year was not the standard, not what's going to happen moving forward. And if you lose to Boise State, you're going to get a lot of backlash.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure going on right now in the Florida State side just because you have to come off to a fast start. This is Boise State, and I think, the outside looking in, if you're just a casual, college football fan, you see Boise State, you're like, nah, this isn't like the Boise State of old. This isn't like the Boise State, the giant killers that slayed, Oklahoma in the bowl game. This is a different Boise State. And I would agree with you for the most part, but it's like I mentioned. I mean, I think the biggest story going into this right now is going to be the new offense that Kendall Briles is bringing to the table. The last time Kendall Briles played the Broncos, went against the Broncos, was the Cactus Bowl when he actually coached for Baylor. And in that game, he put up just a measly 515 yards.
Yeah, measly.
And the 31 points. So he's kind of had Boise State's number. Now, can Boise State kind of adjust on defense and stop that high-powered offensive attack? And we haven't even seen this offensive attack yet for Florida State, but one would assume with the athletes that they have in that team now, with Blackman being named the quarterback, which in my opinion was no surprise in the first place.
It's the right decision.
It was definitely the right decision. I was surprised to hear that the quarterback competition was closer than a lot of people expected.
Alex Hornibrook must be better than a lot of people expected.
Now, I'm not sure if you're just saying that for the heck of it or if that's actually rings true to some people. But let's be honest here. If they were neck and neck, they would go Blackman 100 times out of 100 times because he's already got that locker room.
No doubt.
He's already like the leader of that team. And you're not going to have a transfer from Wisconsin come in, a lefty, mind you, and kind of like the new face on campus and just take over that team. So Blackman's going to be the guy. He's the leader of that offense. Still a little nervous with him because he's kind of on the smaller side. You know, this is a guy who's like, I think he's like 6'5", 195. That was like my size, I think, in my sophomore year of high school. And I get it. You know, we shouldn't put too much into a quarterback's size or maybe a quarterback's weight. But at the same time, you can't knock the fact where if you take a couple hits, because Blackman's not really a mobile guy. He's not going to beat you with his legs. But if he takes a couple hits, you know, who's to say that maybe the injuries will be prevalent? And I think we were talking about the Boise State team where they have the strength in this matchup is in the trenches. Boise State's, you know, not only returning 5 offensive linemen that are starters from last year, but they also have a bona fide first-round pick in Curtis Weaver, and their defensive line is solid overall. So, and you have a Florida State offensive line who, by all means, is kind of young, a little inexperienced. That's the matchup I'm going to be watching, is that Boise State defensive line taking on that Florida State offensive line.
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of our talk in the offseason had to do with FSU's offensive line. I mean, let's be honest, last year it was a turnstile. I mean, they were just letting guys go through left and right, and it was one of those things when you weren't watching the skill guys. You were watching the offensive line to see what happened next. Mm-hmm. And in order for Florida State to be successful at all this season, that area obviously has to improve. And you'd like to think they're going to. Curious to see how Andrew Baselli plays into that group. Great moment for him the other day. I know you guys probably talked about it on the show. Re-earning that scholarship. I think that's the best way to put it, is re-earning it. You know, you get it out of college. Circumstances happen. You decide, you know what, I think I'm done with football. You come back and you re-earn it and show that you deserve to be there. Pretty cool for him. So, yeah, that offensive line is going to have to perform. You're always going to have, you know, great talented players, like you said, at Florida State. Their recruiting classes have not suffered. They've continued to do well year in and year out. Now we'll see if Willie Taggart's offense is able to keep it going and maybe find a way to make it work in this opener against Boise State. And they have to. They absolutely have to, especially now with it being at home. You no longer can use neutral site as an excuse. Not that they were going to ever in the first place, but this is now a game that you're going to have at home.
Another thing I'm going to be watching too, and you mentioned last year I was all on board the Florida State bandwagon. I thought they were going to be sensational. I thought Taggart was going to have those guys playing very well and be pretty competitive in the ACC. They don't even go to a bowl. I was way off, to say the least. I think a lot of people were way off in their predictions. What I'm going to be watching for as well. And listen, I think this is Florida State's game still. I understand Boise State's intriguing. Like I said, I think they actually have the advantage in the trenches. And if you have the advantage in the trenches, you can win a lot of ball games. So I'm not counting Boise State out by any means. But I think when we watch the University of Miami versus the Florida Gator game, we saw this where both teams were really sloppy. And I think that if you wanted to wrap up Florida State's troubles last year, yes, it was the offensive line a lot, but it was also dumb penalties and, whether it was the false starts, the pass interferences. I mean, you can go on and on watching those Florida State games. They almost shot themselves in the foot sometimes. And I think this first game is going to be very telling to see if Taggart has kind of changed up his philosophy a little bit, changed up his coaching, and is going to have these guys ready because they have the weapons. They have the speed, and I think they have the offensive coordinator to take over that team. Offensive line is in question. They have a solid defense. I think their defensive line is going to be great, and it's going to be a great matchup between, like I said before, a Boise State team who's returning all of their offensive linemen with a rookie quarterback. So if your defensive line can feast on a rookie quarterback, it could be a long night for the Boise State Broncos. At the same time, though, I'm watching for those penalties. Is Florida State going to play more disciplined? Are they going to play within themselves? Because this is their game to lose right now. But the last thing you want to see, especially if you're a Florida State Seminole fan right now, is another example of history repeating itself where you're shooting yourself in the foot with these penalties and stupid errors.
You said it. I mean, if you're an offensive coordinator and you're showing up and you're like, okay, so what do I have to work with? I've got Cam Akers. Mm-hmm. I've got Tamarian Terry. I've got DJ Matthews. I mean, at that point, you should be like, all right, I can work with those guys. I can work with the kind of talent that this team is putting out there for me to be able to use. And you certainly expect Kendall Briles to be in that mindset as they get ready to take on Boise State. And certainly more talk about this on the Friday edition of ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jax Radio. So we'll keep talking about it. The big, of course, news from today is that the game has been moved from Jacksonville. So if you show up at TIAA Bank Field on Saturday night at 7 o'clock, it's going to be empty. You will not be a happy camper.
Well, I'll tell you what, it will not be empty tonight. Hopefully, is the Thursday night preseason game, Jaguars Falcons. We'll see. I'm not making any predictions on the stadium when people are going to be showing up, but it's still an intriguing game to watch from a couple perspectives. We'll break that down. Who's going to make the team? Who's on the outside looking in? And maybe get some players to watch if we can dig deep enough here for the game tonight.
We can do a deep dive. I like it.
All right, we'll talk a little Jaguars when we come back on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Jake Mitchell, and it's game day. The final preseason game for the Jaguars kicks off tonight at 7 o'clock on Fox. Being this is the last game of the preseason, a lot of guys are playing for a spot on the roster, and that includes backup QB Gardner Minshew, who's looking to solidify his position as Nick Foles' backup. Here's head coach Doug Marrone on his thoughts of the rookie.
I think, we'd really like him, to show us more, at the game. I think that, there's been times where, you sit back and you feel good with the progression, and you're like, hey, this, we feel comfortable. He's coming along, and then all of a sudden, you have a game, and it's kind of like a setback. Like, what happened? That's not what we've seen during the week.
And in college football, the bookmakers are split on a favorite to win the national title between Alabama and Clemson. One of the two teams has held the number one spot in the AP poll for 83 straight weeks, which is a record since the inception of the poll. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com.
Follow the wave to Atlantic Infinity during this summer's sales event.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one for a luxurious showroom.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one with a stress-free buying experience.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one fast, dependable service.
Follow the wave to the only one Atlantic Infinity.
Don't miss the summer sales event happening now at Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Hey, what in the name of Lester Jackson are you doing?
Oh, hey, boss. Well, since these folks are out of town, I figured I had time to make a Sammy.
You what?
Yep, it's a peanut butter banana sandwich, just like Elvis.
Wait, when are the owners of this place getting back?
Well, the social media account says tomorrow around noon, so relax.
Huh. Well, don't leave a mess. That would be rude.
Boss, how is it possible in this day and age that folks like this don't have Safe Touch security?
Beats me. Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, from the two-way communicator to the crash and smash technology to video monitoring.
Hey, if these folks had Safe Touch, we wouldn't be within a mile of this place.
And that's why we live by the Crooks R Us motto. Stay away from Safe Touch houses.
Yeah. Hey, pass the bread, will ya?
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
Is today the day it'll finally stop raining?
We sure hope so, but it's been a very wet summer so far. This is Mike with Big Fish Roofing. Don't forget, your roof is the first line of defense against the elements. Here at Big Fish Roofing, as an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor, we are locally owned and we drive our business with quality and integrity. We do not require any down payments until your roof project is complete. You can find us at bigfishroofing.com or facebook.com/bigfishroofing. We are the roofers you can trust. We are Big Fish Roofing.
What happens when your alarm system gets triggered? Let's say you're at work and your house is getting broken into. You want the police called, right? Well, that only happens with a Safe Touch security system. You heard me, right? Yes, the law states that if an alarm is not verified, the alarm contractor must call the key holders before calling the police, giving the crooks plenty of time to clean out your home and have an easy getaway. But the Safe Touch two-way communicator verifies the holdup in just seconds, allowing the Safe Touch operators to dispatch emergency authorities in seconds. Also providing valuable information to the authorities. Customers also receive an instant text verification as well as live video of who's in your home. This video can be transferred to the police, giving them a huge advantage in the war on crime. Don't just think you're safe, know you're safe. Get the Safe Touch Advantage now and receive a free color listen and talk camera and just $5 extra for storage. Get the Safe Touch Advantage now at safetouch.com. License number EF233 with approved credit terms and conditions apply.
Our partners at BSN Sports, the largest provider of team sports equipment and apparel in the country, would like to thank all of the coaches out there who truly are the heart of the game. While BSN Sports is the best at equipping athletes with a one-stop shop for everything needed to run an athletic program, coaches are the best at equipping lives. And that's the real final score. Learn more about how BSN Sports can save you time off the field so you can impact more lives on it by calling your local BSN Sports sales professional or by visiting bsnsports.com today.
Alexa, how do I drive more customers into my business?
First, people will need to hear about you.
Okay.
Then you need to be online where they look for you.
Online, huh?
Then you need to be involved in the community. Then you need to...
Whoa. I don't have time for all that. I need to run my business. Alexa, can you help me find someone that can help me with online marketing?
Okay, searching for a local team that can help.
Codan is now Local Solutions, your local marketing team putting you at the top of mind. Visit JacksonvilleLocalSolutions.com today and let us take your business to the next level so you can get back to running it. Local Solutions, powered by Cox Media Group. Marketing solved.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
As Dorian takes aim at Florida, Action News Jax and the First Alert Weather Team are keeping a watchful eye on the tropics. Chief Meteorologist Mike Burish tracking Dorian's every move.
This is the time to prepare. Download the First Alert Weather app and get real-time radar, hourly forecast updates, and the latest track on Dorian. And on TV, we'll be working round the clock to bring you live updates and live coverage as the storm approaches. At Action News Jax, we're here for Severe. Keep you and your family safe.
It got me thinking back to my days covering the Giants camp. I remember talking about how hard it was, mostly if it went against the rules, because Strahan and some other players would challenge Coughlin on it.
Do you remember those days, though, where teams would get punished?
Action Sports Jax, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and on your smart speaker.
Oh, it is game day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Folks are tailgating. Is anyone tailgating right now? 3:45 on a preseason
games
game?
At 7?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe people got off. Yeah. It's going to be a long, long weekend.
Maybe someone make it like a 4.5-day weekend.
Why not?
Take off Friday, take off Monday.
We'll see, man.
Monday's already off for normal people. I forget about that.
That it is. It's going to be off for me as well.
Do we not have shows on Monday?
We're not doing shows on Monday.
Okay, well, there you go.
There's a little spoiler for everybody out there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
See, I
can come in and talk wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can come in and talk all out
going on.
Yeah.
Some big changes to the card, but yeah, I know you've mentioned that over the last couple days. It's funny because for me, I never have any idea on what like normal people days off are, and by normal people I mean people who don't work in television, because there isn't like days off. Like if you're scheduled to work a Thursday and it's Christmas, that you're still probably scheduled to work that unless you ask off.
Sure.
Because it's just a day.
Yeah.
So like when I think about like what days people have off and someone's like, oh yeah, Monday's off, right? And I'm like, well, what's Monday? Oh, Labor Day. That's a thing that people get in the normal world. What a world to live in. Of course,
we all feel we were feeling very bad for you, Stuart.
Well, yeah, that's the entire point of this tirade here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is to make that point and to say, hey,
point made.
What in the world? Of course, everyone's weekends are kind of in flux at the moment, thanks to Hurricane Dorian making its way towards the Sunshine State to prevent sunshine from coming through. So everyone's keeping an eye on Hurricane Dorian. We'll have some updates from the Action News Jax folks in studio here in a little bit. They'll drop by and kind of give you guys the latest. From a sports perspective, obviously, Florida State, Boise State has been moved to Tallahassee. When it comes to the high school game, St. Johns County School Districts have said everything is a go. So the games that had been planned in St. Johns County are a go. That includes St. Augustine High School at Menendez for a big rivalry game, as well as Nice's home opener against Creekside. So those are the two games going on down in St. Johns County that are a go. Still a go on Friday night. We'll remind you that, of course, on Friday night, we'll have your ESPN 690 game of the week, and it's going to be in Nassau County, Yulee at Fernandina Beach. Going to be a lot of fun as that game will be taking place up in Nassau County. So, as mentioned, the folks from Action News Jax stopping by to kind of give us a little insight, a little information when it comes to Hurricane Dorian. We've kind of said some of the sports effects. Mike Burrish, Chief Meteorologist for the First Alert Weather Team, joining us now.
How we doing, Mike?
All right, good to be here. I haven't been up here for a while.
Yeah.
It's been a
you
little
guys
bit.
have made it really, I like it. It's home.
Well, I have. Brent hasn't really added a lot to his section yet.
Brent has just added more faces of himself in as many places as possible.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It's Brent. It's
He's
Brent.
a very busy man. And I have time in my hands, as you can see.
I am liking the Hawkeye sticker here. I like that a lot.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes me feel like home.
Speaking of busy men, we know you are very busy right now.
Yeah.
Give us a little update on kind of what's the latest. What are we working on here for the shows this afternoon?
Well, Dorian's a ways away. It's a long ways out there, but it's going to intensify over the next few days. A lot of people are thinking their weekend's ruined, and really not so much. Not here at home. Now, having said that, you should stay up to date on all the forecasts every day and multiple times a day, really, and check to make sure that everything's on schedule. But as far as the weather itself, I think people will be surprised how much sun there is, and sometimes it won't be raining at all, and there'll just be a little breeze coming off the Atlantic, certainly for Saturday and Sunday. And by Labor Day, it gets a little wetter, a little windier, and Dorian's making its move toward the Florida coast, most likely kind of like Cape Canaveral, give or take a little bit there. But I'll tell you what, a large part of the holiday weekend is not going to be ruined by this weather pattern. And then the next thing people are going to say, well, then why are all these things being changed and amended? Well, that has a lot to do with the bigger picture. Not so much the weather specifically at any given time or place, as much as infrastructure, trying to move people, potential evacuations for Southeast Florida, that sort of thing. So we're in pretty good shape the next couple of days, but it gets wetter as we get deeper into the holiday weekend, and then especially next week, it could be a lot of water for us.
I know a lot of the folks listening at home have seen the forecast track, the cone of concern in areas that we're watching. How much can this thing kind of move up and down? I'm sure it was everyone's thinking because, the closer we get to it, you kind of expect that cone to kind of minimize,
right? And
it's still kind of the entire state of Florida right now.
Yeah, because it's still 4 and 5 days out.
Sure.
So the more days, you're talking a wider cone there. So and Jacksonville's sort of on that northern edge, and the Keys are kind of the southern edge. I think it's a pretty good bet that it's the central or southeast coast first. Now it should turn a little northward once it makes landfall, but at that point, then it's over land. It's lost its source of energy, and it starts to weaken. Still can be pretty significant for us, but it wouldn't be like it will be for the east central and southeast coast of Florida, where people would really, especially, need to take this very, very seriously.
And I know folks obviously moving the Florida State game. That certainly has a lot to do with the infrastructure and logistics that you were talking about. And I'm sure Mike Burrish, you're joining us right now, and John Bachman's in here as well, and he can kind of expand on that a little bit. But one of the key things I want to talk about, you say it's probably going to hit that Cape Canaveral area, that Central Florida area. But that's only the center. That's only
Right.
the eye. And the effects are really going to be more wide-reaching. And you consider the more severe side of the storm, that's generally the northern side, right? Isn't that where kind of the,
Look at
the severe
this
stuff
is
comes
very
from?
impressive.
Guy does it all.
Yeah.
Guy does it all.
So, yeah, you're right. It will be, the strongest winds will probably extend 50-plus miles away from the center. And you also will be in that quadrant where we get a couple tornadoes and maybe a water spout, certainly a lot of rain. This could be a whole lot of water. And so, yeah, be very careful about letting your guard down thinking there's not anything at all going on here. Sure, it may not be the kind of violent hit that we may get further to the south where the actual initial landfall is, but still can be pretty significant impacts here over the next few days and maybe several days in a row. Could go into the middle of next week.
Wow. All right, that is our chief meteorologist, Mike Bursch, kind of giving us a little bit of the weather side, and let us know where everyone can catch up with the very latest.
All the very latest at Talking the Tropics with Mike. It's at actionnewsjax.com, or you can download for free our First Alert weather app. And then, of course, almost round the clock, it seems like anyway, on CBS 47, Fox 30 Action News Jax, and on the radio side, News 104.5 WOKV. So appreciate it, you guys.
Yeah,
Mike,
absolutely.
Can I just go and request shotgun on the storm tracking vehicle if no one's requested that yet, man?
You're in.
Me and you. Oh, sold.
Wouldn't that be a blast? That sounds like...
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of sticking around hopefully for that gig, so we'll see.
And it's
I'm not going anywhere.
And it's a pretty cool vehicle, actually.
That's what I heard. Heard a lot of great things, man.
All right, you're in.
Please keep me in mind. Thank you, man.
It really is. I've actually driven it to some high school football games.
Now I'm extra jealous.
Yeah, we'll do a little wrestling tag team maneuver here. Mike Bursch rolls out. He's headed down.
Tapping out. I'm tapping in.
Tapping out back down to the studios, and now we can get kind of a little bit of a news perspective from John Bachman, one of our main anchors at Action News Jax, and letting us know a little bit of the effect that this storm is having. Even though it's 4 to 5 days out, it's still certainly having a big effect on Northeast Florida and Southeast
I think the
Georgia.
biggest thing right now is you kind of touched on it with the Florida State Boise State game. Yeah, I tweeted that out and I got more responses. I mean, there's a lot of people on both sides of the fence on that one, and I get it. But as Mike touched on, it's not necessarily what the weather's going to be like. In fact, it's definitely not what the weather's going to be like on Saturday, because it's going to be, as he said, it sounds like it's going to be pretty normal. But it's because of the fact that you're going to have potentially a bunch of people heading north. And you've got, as also has been touched on, you've got all these first responders it takes to get people in and out of a stadium who otherwise may be needed elsewhere. And so, they made it out of abundance of caution, and to put it, they moved it to noon, I think it is, in Tallahassee.
Correct, noon. Yes.
Yeah. So that way it gives chance to get all those folks in and out of there, and it won't be, such an issue perhaps on the roads and whatnot. The other thing to think about as far as, the hotels and the businesses, they may get a lot of people from South Florida coming north that, may help replace some of the rooms that were lost by some of the folks who may no longer be staying there. So there's a little offset there as well.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, and that's certainly something we're thinking of, is just the impact that it's going to have. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the city of Jacksonville to not have this game here, just as far as
exposure,
heads and beds,
but also the
money,
national exposure that always comes with a national game. Of course, absolutely. And it had to have been a difficult decision to make, but it was made, and you got to respect that for sure. Otherwise, you talk about supplies. I don't know if any of you guys have been out to try to get gas or head to the grocery store in the last 24 hours, but that's been a bit of an issue some places. I think the big thing to remember is that we have plenty of time, and so I know people want to get out and get everything right away, and that's fine. The for folks who are running into empty shelves or empty pumps at the station, remember that there's still plenty of time to restock and resupply. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. You'll get something here in the next couple of days. Certainly not worth panicking at this point in time for that.
Little insider secret, us in the sports department, we rely on the news people to stock up the building for us.
Oh, right on.
That's a smart play.
Good
we
to
have
know.
a lot of water downstairs for sure.
So if we're thirsty.
Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
That's right. So what else? Yeah, that's about. I mean, that's going to be the big talker for the next several days, obviously. And as Mike said, and he alluded to, and we were just talking about this in the meeting. And there are again updates at 5:00 and 11:00 tonight. So make sure you watch Action News Jax, CBS 47, Fox 30 for the very latest at 5:00, especially. But as this thing progresses, of course, we'll have a better idea exactly where this thing's going and exactly what can and can't happen. But his point is that if the current track holds and this thing hits, somewhere Cape Canaveral-ish and then starts moving very slowly up the state of Florida, while it may not be a wind event, he mentioned rain. It's going to be very much a water event. And, it harkens back to just a couple of years ago with Irma when we had all of that rain. Clay County, the Black Creek area, flooded out a lot of homes. You had San Marco and Riverside neighborhoods that were underwater for several days. So just because the storm doesn't hit directly anywhere here, and that is still, of course, a possibility, which is why we're,
It is, and then you always have the possibility of something like Matthew, where maybe it skirts up that coast.
Right.
I've seen some models. And not those kind of models. I've seen some models for the weather that have said
Nobody made that kind of assumption.
They did,
except you.
They did at home. They were thinking that. So the predictive models of the storm may be coming up that coast. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on as well.
Absolutely. It does seem that it's getting more likely to be where that center of the cone is.
Which, by the way, Elon Musk, lock your stuff up, bro.
Cape
Lock
Canaveral.
up all the SpaceX stuff.
I'm sure they've.
Oh, that's where all the stuff's at.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Cape Canaveral, man.
All those rockets.
Dang.
But they obviously,
That's Starhopper. We're gonna need that thing to get to Mars now. Make sure that thing doesn't get damaged. Telling you what.
That's right. All right, well, thanks for having us, guys.
Yep, you bet.
We'll be back tomorrow and fill you in on the next to latest. But certainly tune in at 5 o'clock, CBS 47, and Fox 30 still working out that deal with Dish. I don't know what's going on there, but you can catch Action News Jax at 5 on both stations.
So, John, is your job technically easier now because it's kind of the same sort of cover, or is it harder now because it's nonstop around the horn coverage?
It's gonna be more hours.
Okay.
But it's more weather, so Mike is going to be carrying the torch here for the next several days. Now, once we start getting into it and there's reports to be had and all that, then it becomes more of a news thing and less of a weather thing. But the lead up and as this thing kind of gets to us and beyond us is a weather thing until there's news to cover. But it's just going to be I know what I'm doing this weekend, and it's not barbecuing. Let's put it that way.
All right, that is John Bachman from CBS 47, Fox 30, Action News Jax. Appreciate it, and as he said, be sure to catch the very latest at 5 o'clock. We go into a different schedule style in the TV side when these storms come around.
For sure.
Little 12 on, 12 off, as we like to call it.
Okay.
You got two different teams going back and forth, a little tag team, kind of like Bursch and Bachman did there a moment ago.
Yeah, we also go on a different schedule in sports radio sometimes and talk a lot about the weather.
I know.
It's all good, though, man.
You know what?
It's important. It's very topical.
Story, and
very topical.
And
people got to get their water.
We certainly want to keep everyone at home informed on what all is going on. We also want to keep you informed about the Jacksonville Jaguars as they play their 4th preseason game. We teased a little bit. Coming up next, we're going to talk about some of the things to watch tonight. It's not the starters. You won't watch the starters tonight. This just in. You wouldn't, no matter what strategy Doug Marrone and company were taking for this 4th preseason game. But there are battles to be won. There are jobs to be won. And it's certainly some guys whose livelihood is on the line tonight. And we will discuss that coming up next here on ESPN 690 on a Thursday, on a Jaguars game day. The Atlanta Falcons coming to town. We'll discuss battles coming up next here on ESPN 690.
I've said to people, I've said on air, I think the next 5 to 8 years will decide if Jacksonville wants to be Birmingham or if they want to be Charlotte.
Shortly after Shad Khan took over ownership and said, I want to redevelop the shipyards. The reason he wants to do that is a vibrant downtown, a vibrant sports complex, according to Khan, is something that the team needs to stay viable and sustainable financially. So the shipyards have really kind of started and stopped, but what we have now is one part of that.
Action Sports Jax, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Hey everybody, this is Austin Lane. I used to wear number 92, and while it's a great number, 94 just might be better.
That's because Vida de Luis recently got a 94 rating. Hey, this is Brent Martineau. Vida de Luis is a locally owned tequila right here in Jacksonville, made in Tequila, Mexico, and shipped directly to Jax Beach. Make your own recipes with Vida de Luis tequila, one of the smoothest tequilas you will ever taste.
For locations, recipes, and merchandise, visit VitaDeLuis.com.
Leave your troubles ashore. Live the island life with the citrus of the sea. Vida de Luis tequila. Must be at least 21 to drink. Drink responsibly.
Fall is all about color. So is Vigoro Colored Mulch at the Home Depot. Right now at Labor Day savings of 5 bags for just $10. Vigoro is 100% natural shredded wood in 3 beautiful shades. It beautifies your garden while retaining moisture. And at this low price, it also looks great on your budget. Today is the day for doing with Labor Day savings on Vigoro mulch, 5 bags, just $10. Now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Selection varies by store.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy sex, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take 1 capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Rush to Walmart and get Ageless Male Tonight.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
Sports Center. I'm Doug Brown. #1 Clemson plays Georgia Tech tonight, 8 Eastern on the ACC Network. On ESPN at 7 Eastern, a doubleheader, UCLA at Cincinnati, then #14 Utah at BYU. When the NFL season starts, which quarterback will be under the most pressure? ESPN's Damian Woody says it's Jimmy Garoppolo.
The San Francisco 49ers gave Jimmy Garoppolo a mega contract in the body of work of, 10 games? I mean, think about how crazy that is.
Damian Woody on the Stephen A. Smith Show. The Falcons will bring back 44-year-old kicker Matt Bryant for a tryout tomorrow. He's the team's all-time leading scorer. Police in Mobile, Alabama have issued an arrest warrant for Lakers center DeMarcus Cousins. He's accused by a former girlfriend of domestic violence. Baseball today, the Indians sweep the Tigers in Detroit 2-0. Mike Clevenger goes 8 scoreless for his 10th win. And the Twins today break the Major League record for home runs on the road. They're at 140, and they lead the White Sox 9-1 in the 5th.
Nature Valley Sweet and Salty Bars are the indulgent break you deserve in your day. Have you tried the dark chocolate, peanut, and almond flavor? Now that's a sit on the dock and take a moment kind of bar. Nature Valley Sweet and Salty Bars.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jags.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anna Jar and Levine studio. This is Action Sports Jags on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Oh, it's starting to fill up here in the ESPN 690 studio. Marcel Robinson joining us for some Jaguars discussion. Before that, by the way, another note, one more high school football game has been canceled. The Bowls game, they were hosting Miami Lakes, will not happen. Obviously, the folks down in Hialeah a little more concerned with the storm, as it could very well go into that area. So Miami Lakes will not be making the trip up to Jacksonville. So if you were going to the Bowls game, which one of our photographers was, I'll have to make that adjustment in the schedule, because they will not be going to that one anymore. Bowls game.
The Blitz is taking some hits, man.
Oh boy, the Blitz is going to be like 2 games just stretched out a lot. The 2 you go to and our game of the week.
There we go.
Which you can listen to right here on ESPN 690. Of course, that's a 7 o'clock kickoff at Fernandina Beach. The Yulee Hornets in a battle for Nassau County. Looking forward to it. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, though. Today, we're talking Jacksonville Jaguars preseason game number 4 and what to watch for, which, as you know, if you're at home listening, will not be the starters. That is not what you will watch for, because this is the final opportunity for a lot of the guys on the roster to earn a spot on this team. Or maybe you put something on tape that helps you earn a spot on another team. So certainly there is a whole lot on the line for the players that will play tonight. And we'll let Austin Lane kind of lead us off with, what are you watching? Who are you watching? What are you hoping to see tonight from the Jaguars? Obviously, the result doesn't matter, but some of the individual performances certainly will.
So, yeah, you kind of said it. I mean, you're not going to see really any starters tonight. I think the question mark is Quincy Williams. There was some teasing where would he get just maybe a series or 2 to kind of get acclimated to his first NFL game since he's been out with an injury. if it's me, if I'm the coach, unless you're 100%, and listen, it's kind of hard to gauge that as a professional athlete, as a coach, because of course the athlete's going to tell you, yeah, I want to play. I mean, I think if you're Quincy Williams right now, you're chomping at the bit to get in the game and just experience that kind of atmosphere and what it's all about. But at the same time, you have to kind of pull on the reins a little bit and be easy and work his way back, because they need him against Kansas City week 1. So I'll be curious to see if Quincy Williams plays tonight. I wouldn't bank on it, but if he's out there, definitely someone to key on. Taven Bryan is another guy that I'll be keying in on tonight. This is a guy who, listen, he's got a lot of scrutiny in the media. He's got a lot of scrutiny from the fan base, and he needs to have a good game tonight. Now, is all this scrutiny warranted? See, I think he plays a position in that 3 technique where unless you get 4 or 5 sacks like your Aaron Donald the game, people are going to kind of rag on you a little bit. I always compare him to Tyson Alualu. There's a reason why Tyson Alualu is still in the league after all these years. And there's a reason why he provides depth for one of the best defensive lines in the entire NFL in the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's because he's great at what he does. Now, does Tyson Alualu get a lot of sacks? Did he get a lot of sacks in Jacksonville? No, they didn't really need him to. Now, yeah, that is a bonus. I mean, of course, sacks is what's going to, get you the paycheck, but it's taking on the double teams. It's causing chaos in the backfield. It's getting tackles for loss. It's keeping the offensive linemen off the linebackers. And Tyson did that to a very elite ability. So with Taven Bryan now, I think you're seeing a guy who started out kind of slow in the preseason. I think it's a guy who you saw the last preseason game almost kind of push a little too hard now, where he's getting the effort penalties, and I'm under the old school philosophy where if you get the effort penalties, I can live with that. What I cannot live with is the mistake penalties, if you're offsides, if you're in the neutral zone lined up. With Taven Bryan, if you watch those effort penalties that he had against the Miami Dolphins, the first one against Ryan Fitzpatrick should probably get an Oscar for flopping because it was quite the performance. Now, yeah, it was a penalty. I mean, it fit the profile. But at the same time, Fitzpatrick didn't do many favors by kind of, almost acting like he was Manu Ginobili out there and flopping. Yeah. So the second one, though, was blatant as day is long, where it was definitely a penalty. And with Taven Bryan, it's a guy who's starting to press a little bit. He's trying to get in that stat box. I think he's hearing what people are saying about him, and he's not liking it, and he's trying to make a name for himself. So I hope, we see him come out this game, come out calm, cool, collected with a calm demeanor, and then, go from there.
And you make a very compelling comparison there with Tyson Alualu. And the reason I say that is because they share another thing in common. They were both first-round picks. And that is always one of the things that's going to stick out is, was this guy worthy of being a first-round pick? Now, Tyson obviously went a lot higher than Taven did. Taven was a 29th pick, so very late in the first round, but certainly something that will be associated with him for the rest of his career as a first-round NFL draft pick. Marcel, what are you looking for tonight?
I think for me, it's probably the back end of the defensive back room. I think we obviously it's so hard here in Jacksonville just because we have Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boyer are pretty much locks as far as from a cornerback standpoint. And it's almost similar to the issue that we had with the wide receiver room back when we had A-Rob and Hearns and Lee. It's kind of like, we have guys that are pretty much set. You can toss DJ Hayden in that mix with the 20 and 21, but just the back-end cornerback guys, because they've actually been making plays this preseason. You have Breon Borders, who's had a couple clutch PBUs at the Eagles game here. You have who else we have? Picasso Nelson, obviously, with the pick. I feel like those guys are really, putting in the work. Obviously, with having someone like Jalen and Boyer to kind of learn from, I feel like, and even just kind of talking to them, they've had that kind of sense of humility, knowing that, hey, look, it's not necessarily a long shot, but they have to play their way onto this particular team. But I feel like they've answered the bell, and with the starters not getting much play time, they've really kind of taken advantage of the time they can get on the field.
Very good point, and certainly something we'll be keeping an eye on here tonight. And like you said, it's so easy to just look at the top-end talent and not kind of worry about the rest of the team.
Right.
And when you're talking about NFL game days, that's fine. You're worried about the top-end talent. That's what you're watching. But tonight is about the back end. It's about the coaching staff really completing that 53-man roster. Hey, look, tonight might only decide guys 46 to 53. That might be the only real jobs that are kind of on the line. But for those guys who are 46 to 53 on that 53-man roster, this is the biggest night of the year. This is the biggest game that they will face the entire year. And you kind of mentioned the wide receiver room. That's what I'm watching. I'm watching those guys who might be fighting for perhaps the last or one of the last 2 wide receiver spots because, look, that is a receiving core that is pretty set in stone when you look at the top 5. I mean, you look at the guys who they have, and Chris Conley, Marquise Lee, Keelan Cole we had some questions about it at the beginning of the preseason, but I feel like he's kind of proven himself through practices to the point that he has, deservedly earned a spot in that 53. And then you also talk about D.D. Westbrook and DJ Chark. That's 5 right there. Boom. Yeah. And you're talking about a team that's probably going to have 6 on that final roster. So is it a guy like C.J. Board who has that speed and that ability to take the top off of a defense? Or is it a guy like Tyree Brady, maybe a Trey McBride, Terrell Pryor even? I mean, these are the guys who are fighting for that spot and for that opportunity to be a part of this team. And while a lot of people can be like, oh, why don't you just stash a couple guys on the practice squad? Well, it's not that easy. Right. Because as the Jacksonville Jaguars are evaluating all these players tonight and trying to see where those battles are going to be, every one of the other 31 teams in the NFL are doing the exact same thing, and the Jaguars are doing that for the other 31 teams. They're watching those battles at the back end of the roster to see, hey, who might be available, whether it be from a competition standpoint, maybe it's a contract issue. Maybe you're talking about guys who, aren't playing up to the number that is up there. So maybe they get let go, and you're talking about a guy who deserves to be on a 53-man roster, but finds himself floating out there and ready to be picked up by another team.
And speaking of that wide receiver group, and I don't know how the coaches feel about Terrell Pryor. We talked about him a bunch on this show. I think especially in OTAs because he is that
name splash.
Well, he has that bigger body though, right? Like if you look at that wide receiver group right now, he's the guy that sticks out.
No doubt.
He's about 6'4", 230, and he is the outlier in a good way. Where if you're in the red zone, you want to have that kind of big body. You want to have a guy who is used to making those catches in the end zone. But at the same time, we haven't seen him on the field. And one would think this is probably an injury concern because the coaches just wouldn't, sit him the entire preseason unless they're that confident in his abilities, which I get it. He is a vet, but at the same time, only really had one good year to go off of. The rest I think was kind of mediocre. So I'm curious to see if Pryor gets a lot of playing time tonight, if he does what he does with it, and if he can actually cement himself on this roster. Because if you're in his spot right now, there's a couple things working against you. Number one, you don't play special teams. And if you don't play special teams, that's one more reason why a team can cut you. Because if you play special teams, and that's kind of the big thing that you tell a lot of, free agents that are rookies, where it's like, make the special teams and just go from there. Well, Pryor doesn't play that, so he has that going against him. Also, his price tag. Being kind of a vet who's been around for a while, it's going to cost a lot more to keep him as opposed to maybe a Tyree Brady or a C.J. Board. And then also, the third point I'm trying to make here is the fact that he didn't come up in the system, right? This isn't a guy that was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not a guy who was brought in by the team. I mean, yes, they brought him in, but he's been other places before Jacksonville. So sometimes teams want to go with their homegrown guy and kind of cultivate him a little bit and shape him. With Terrell Pryor not really doing that. So if he does play tonight, he's going to have a huge game to kind of stand out, because if he doesn't, I feel like despite his size, despite what he's done in the past, he's probably not going to make the team.
Yeah, that size is always the thing that stands out. It's like if you were standing in a room of me's.
Yeah.
It would just be
beard, dreads, tattoos, take your pick.
Huge disparity. Yeah. But what's the greatest ability? Availability.
Right. There we go. Yeah. Yes.
Got to be able to get out there and play. So certainly something that we will keep an eye on.
I think another point, too, you got to drive home is the backup quarterback position.
Sure.
I'm sure Gardner Minshew's going to see a lot of reps tonight, and it's to the point now where is he going to be the bona fide backup quarterback, or do the Jaguars feel like maybe they have to address it, when the roster cuts come out? A couple names right off the top of the list that come to my head. I was watching Hard Knocks. I don't think the Raiders are going to keep Mike Glennon and Nathan Peterman. I mean, do you give Peterman a shot? He's got the Jacksonville ties. If he does get cut, I don't know. I think if it's me personally, Gardner Minshew's a guy that you took late in the draft. He seems to be progressing week by week. I still think you stick with him unless there's a quarterback out there, when everybody gets cut, where it's like, can this guy come in and actually win us games? Because there's a difference between can this guy come in and manage the game, can this guy come in and win us a game? And in terms of the backup quarterback position, especially on waivers, not a lot of guys out there.
Backup QBs are in very high demand right now because there's been a lot of injuries to backup QBs in this offseason. I mean, shoot, you got guys coming out of retirement left and right to jump into those spots when Chad Henne goes down, Cody Kessler goes down.
Yeah.
Am I just naming former Jaguars who got hurt?
Yep,
I don't know.
Name two.
How about Blaine Gabbert? How about you watch tonight's pregame show on Fox 30 when Marcel Robinson has that specific story?
Oh, nice. That's a little segue then.
That's what we call a tease.
Sorry, man. Didn't really mean to steal your shine over there.
No, that's good. That's also the next time you'll see me as I am off to go get some more work done.
Cool.
Marcel Robinson will slide over here into the video seat so people can see him. He's wearing sunglasses.
Coolest
it's ridiculous.
Man in the studio. You heard Trey.
Future's looking so bright.
Ridiculous. Much more Jaguars talk coming up with Austin Lane and Marcel Robinson next right here on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
This is Golic and Wingo.
Here is Will Kane, ladies and gentlemen.
Jerry Jones meant nothing. It's quite clearly a joke. Can we not try to use victimhood as our ace of spades in the ultimate card game of life?
You know what this is? Rocky Arsenal using something to negotiate.
Yeah.
It's not victimhood. It's not a plague sweeping society. It's, okay, you said something, and I'm going to use it to my advantage. That's it.
Golic and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Our partners at BSN Sports, the largest provider of team sports equipment and apparel in the country, would like to thank all of the coaches out there who truly are the heart of the game. While BSN Sports is the best at equipping athletes with a one-stop shop for everything needed to run an athletic program, coaches are the best at equipping lives. And that's the real final score. Learn more about how BSN Sports can save you time off the field so you can impact more lives on it by calling your local BSN Sports sales professional or by visiting bsnsports.com today.
Hey, fantasy footballers, this is Brent Martineau. Pizza, wings, and ice-cold drafts at your upcoming draft. Let's make it happen. Host your party at Renna's in Neptune Beach, the newest of 5 locations in the area. Specials available for your draft party, plus Wi-Fi and televisions. Pick the players with the fastest 40 times at Renna's Pizza, family-owned for more than 40 years. Want a fresh one? Then get to Renna's Pizza in Neptune Beach for your fantasy football draft party. And tell them ESPN 690 sent you.
Hey everybody, Trey Wingo here from Golic and Wingo. Thanks for making ESPN 690 the fastest growing sports station in Jackson. It's clear Northeast Florida has great taste in radio. I mean, you're listening to me every morning, right? Join the ESPN 690 team and get your business notice today. The First Coast is making the switch to ESPN 690, and there's no better time to get your business in front of them. Call ESPN 690 today, 245-8732. That's 245-8732. Grow your business today on the new ESPN 690.
Being in the Army National Guard is about more than just serving your country. It's about being there for your community when your neighbors need you most. The Army National Guard makes college affordable. Serving part-time lets you attend school full-time while you take advantage of education benefits that can help you graduate debt-free. If a civilian career is your goal, serving part-time allows you to work at a full-time job. The skills, qualities, and contacts you'll develop in the Guard can open doors to a great civilian career. Want to serve but worried about being away from friends and family? Part-time service in the Army National Guard allows you to serve close to home. Serving in the Army National Guard lets you have the life you want while you enjoy the many benefits of serving your community and nation. You owe it to yourself to learn more about how the Army National Guard can fit into your life. Visit NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Savings on top of huge selection on top of rave customer reviews. That's how they do the National Clearance Event at Arlington Toyota. During the National Clearance Event, you can take your pick from over 1,000 new and pre-owned on Arlington's lot. I mean, come on! 1,000 vehicles. You know you're going to find what you want and save during the National Clearance Event at Arlington. Right now, during the National Clearance Event at Arlington, buy a 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. Or buy a 2019 2019 Tacoma SR5 from just $24,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Tacoma SR5 from just $24,888. Plus, you get the Arlington Toyota $5,000 Advantage Club with your purchase. Just one of the tons of reasons why Arlington's earned 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 7,000 Google reviews. Arlington knows how to do the national clearance sale right, but you've got to get it while the getting is good. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online 24/7 at arlingtontoyota.com.
That's the crossroads.
So then
Correct.
you would have Jerry Jones basically saying we're not paying market value for what this guy would be worth.
He just came out and said you can win a Super Bowl without winning a rushing title.
Go Lick and Wingo, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick and Wingo. Jacksonville, guess what? Stuart Weber is here. Finally, someone with some talent. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Coos move of the week right there.
That hurts a little bit.
Wait, hold on.
No, I mean,
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick and
here we
Wingo.
go.
Marcel Robinson is in the house.
There we
He's
go.
definitely the coolest guy in that room. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Little forced, but we'll allow it.
I'm not going to say that made up for it, but it made it made it sting a little less.
Okay. And can I just say, it stings every single time I hear yours and Stuart's because I get nothing. Literally, it's, oh, hey, welcome back. Austin's here. We have the coolest guy in the studio. We have the guy with the most sports knowledge or whatever with some talent in Stuart Weber. And we got Austin here. That's all right. I'm always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It's not a big deal.
I mean, but you're kind of on like all the promos and the open.
Hey,
and
my big head's sitting right behind you right there, man.
mean,
I am in the cutout.
I don't, surprisingly enough, I don't have a bigger than life size caricature of myself anywhere.
That's all I need. Yeah, for sure. And then eventually when we get that Action Sports Jack's car wrapped up with my head in the passenger seat, that's all I need.
You know, now that I think about it, I have a small issue. A little bit of an issue.
Okay,
a
hit me
little
with that.
off-topic issue.
There you good.
I'm always being accused of, being a narcissist with all my pictures of myself and everything.
First of all, can I just say that before we get in the story? I've never once talked bad about that, right?
This is true.
I've always supported you, man. You just be you.
You're on the team.
You just be you. Yes, okay.
We have two. You know where I'm going with this, right?
I know exactly where you're going with this now.
We have two very much larger than life size heads of our fearless leader, Brent Martineau.
Yeah.
And he has not been accused once.
And Brent's usually the guy that's probably making the most fun of you.
And he's on the hat.
And he's on the hat as
Which
well.
I wear proudly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to leave it at that. That's it.
Shots have been fired. We'll get Brent's response in the 5 o'clock hour, man. You guys might be going back and forth the next couple of days.
I just have concerns. That's all.
No, it's all good. I understand, man. If a stranger came in here or a guest came in here and, no judgment, but they saw Brent's face in the window, then they saw a life-size cutout of Brent in the corner, I'm sure they would think that Brent Martineau loves him some Brent Martineau, and they would probably think Austin Lane loves him some Austin Lane. So I get where you're coming from.
And I would defend both of you, by the way.
I was going to say, I'm a little self-conscious now. I didn't really think about it until you brought it up, but maybe we'll have to do a little improvising and rearrange the studio a little bit.
I'm all for that. I don't need a picture of me in here, though. I don't need a picture.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Hey, listen, if you want to be part of the conversation here on ESPN 690 Jax, hit us up. *690 is the telephone number. We can talk Jags. We can talk style. Now that Marcel's here, can really talk anything. But we're talking right now. And I don't know if this guy is really an omen in terms of making his NFL predictions. Okay. But this was kind of the story on ESPN, where Stephen A. Smith came out and said that the Jacksonville Jaguars they should be favored to win the AFC South. You actually watched this transpire.
I did.
Your thoughts, Marcel?
I think that it's kind of not necessarily a knee-jerk, but a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction because of the Andrew Luck, everything that's transpired with him retiring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say the Jags are a lock. I've always thought that they were, they should have been considered as far as one of the favorites to win the AFC South, but I think it's kind of one of those where the national media and even us here too, we know about coming in with the preseason hype. There's still so many questions to be answered as far as on both sides of the ball. Yeah, they addressed what was considered to be the biggest need in the offseason, bringing in Nick Foles, but I mean, with all the injuries we had coming in, during training camp and with multiple positions, we don't even know who's going to be the opening day starter. With all the questions, I wouldn't necessarily say they're a lock, but at the same time, given everything that's going on with the other teams in the AFC South, I think that they have more of a chance than they've had during the course of this offseason.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, because, listen, every team's going to have their question marks. And I think with the Jaguars right now, the biggest question marks you're going to have is who's playing tight end, who you're going to throw the ball to there, and also I think the backup running back spot is a question mark as well, and maybe the outside linebacker spot, but Quincy Williams is kind of slated to come back now and get that starting role. So, yeah, you have question marks. But if you look at the AFC South division right now, and every other team's question marks, they all have one thing in common, I think, that the Jacksonville Jaguars do not have in common with them, and that's the quarterback play. Now, let's start in Houston. I get a lot of hype around Deshaun Watson. If you're a fantasy player, he's like the top 3 fantasy quarterback taken right now. Yep. He's throwing to Hopkins. They have a great receiving room. Will Fuller, Kiki Kuti kind of came out last year a little bit playing that slot. And I understand that. I understand there's a lot of hype around Watson because he has the weapons to throw to. That offensive line is going to be a liability, I think. Watching the preseason, it's going to be a liability, and I think the question comes is how healthy can Deshaun Watson stay for 16 games this season?
Yeah, I think Deshaun Watson. I think that the questions are fair, but I still think he still hasn't scratched the surface.
Okay,
from a potential standpoint, I feel that, especially with Andrew Luck not being in the picture anymore, he's the quarterback that most will look at to say, he's probably, from in terms of overall talent, what he can do from an athlete standpoint. I think he's up there. And of course, he's got, that guy wearing number 10 that catches, everything thrown his way.
Sure.
But I think the offensive line is a major question. I mean, we've seen what a bad offensive line can do to a team. We've seen what a good offensive line can do. And I think that the hope is, from a Houston standpoint, obviously, is to fix what's protecting him, because if you can protect him, then he can do more. Obviously, and then you have teams like Jacksonville where they have, Josh Allen's and Ngakwe's and Calais Campbell, pinning their ears back and coming after him. I mean, I don't think there's a team in the division or maybe in the league that can stop all 3 of those guys, if they're coming.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree with that. And then with the Tennessee Titans, you have the highest paid starting left tackle, Taylor Lewan,
right,
sitting out 4 games, I believe it is. You have Marcus Mariota, who, I get it. The guy's played hurt a lot, and I respect that. But if you look at his numbers, if you look at the performance on the field, it hasn't been up to par. And you have a team, the Tennessee Titans, and you have a fan base in the Tennessee Titans who are almost saying now that Ryan Tannehill should be the guy.
Yeah.
So there's another question mark at quarterback, and let's be honest, the most important position on that football field is the quarterback position. Now, yeah, there might be some question marks regarding Nick Foles, but let me ask you this question. I think I know where you're going to lean here, and I think I know where you're going to take. But if you could take one quarterback right now in the AFC South, Brissett, Watson, Foles, Mariota, or let's say Tannehill, because who knows who's going to start up the Tennessee Titans right now, who are you taking?
If I had to pick one,
yeah,
without the risk of sounding, like a homer, I mean, I would honestly, I think I would have to take Foles.
Exactly.
Just for not even just because of what he can do on the field, because I think we've, even though we had the one successful drive in Miami from with the ones and the starters, I think we've still yet to see what exactly Nick Foles is going to bring to Jacksonville. I don't think we've had nearly as much of a sample size. Obviously, it was good to see them get in the end zone in Miami, but during the course of that game, because I was there and just seeing kind of how the game progressed and every play from scrimmage that he was in, I think there's still some rust from the starters that needs to be shaken off. I don't think they can stroll out there week 1 and keep up with the Chiefs. It's already tough enough. But at the same time, I think that leadership standpoint that we all preach about and everyone else preaches about Nick Foles is really big. I mean, from a team standpoint, not having one guy who can come into the locker room, after a bad half of football or before a game or after a bad practice to bring everybody up and they literally lock in and listen. I think not having that is huge. And now that they have that here, obviously, when we had Blake last year, we all loved Blake, but he wasn't necessarily that vocal kind of bring everybody together kind of guy. And now there were a couple instances where he would, and how much people kind of locked in and really took heed to what he was saying, I don't know. But I don't think that that's something that you're worried about having with Nick Foles, because that Super Bowl ring speaks volumes.
It does speak volumes. I think that's the most important part, especially from a young team last year who lacked the discipline, who lacked the leadership. And I think Deshaun Watson, 3 or 4 years now down the line, could be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You know, I think he's if you were to take the Deshaun Watson right now in the AFC South, he's the ultimate boomer bust kind of player.
Facts.
Right? He has the potential to have the highest ceiling, but at the same time, I think with his ability to run from the pocket, sometimes get in trouble, make some bad decisions, you know, he also gives you a pretty low floor, especially with injuries. So I agree with you. I would take Foles. And if we're taking Foles as the quarterback right now, you have to like the Jacksonville Jaguars' chances, because you have a team in the Jacksonville Jaguars probably have the best defense in the AFC South. I understand the Texans are up there as well, but I'm taking Jacksonville all day, and then that's kind of from an unbiased opinion. You know, I know Tennessee's going to be tough. I understand the Indianapolis Colts kind of added some pieces. Justin Houston, you know, a fantastic pass rusher. You know, they had a rookie last year who was, I think, an all-pro at linebacker. So they have the pieces in mind, but I think from the top to bottom, from the front line to playing center field, that safety spot, I think Jacksonville has the most complete team on defense. And I think if you have a good quarterback, I think if you have an arguably decent running game that's got a lot of potential, and you have that great defense, how could you not take Jacksonville to win this division? You know, and that says a lot about Andrew Luck too. But listen, I was the guy that sat here and said, assuming Andrew Luck was going to play, I like the Colts, and
everyone did.
Yeah, and I understand the Colts were the sexy pick and all this. You know, it seems like every single year someone's got the sexy pick that they want to take, and this year was the Colts. Everyone was talking about the Colts. But I honestly like them, you know, and a big reason was because of Andrew Luck. Now, you know, props to Andrew Luck. I've already sung his praises. I mean, chose to walk away. More power to you, man. Wish you best of luck. But now you got Jacoby Brissett coming in, who is not Andrew Luck, with all due respect. I mean, I understand the coaches are very high on Jacoby Brissett, but he's not the elite talent that Luck was. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm making the bet, if I'm an analyst on, you know, the big ESPN, the big giant station, I'm saying the Jaguars are going to win too, because I think all the pieces right now are there, and I think all the stars are quote-unquote aligning for the Jaguars to run the division this year.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think that for those people who are kind of still saying, you know, the Colts have a chance to kind of run away with this, I know every year is different from year to year, but I saw what happened last time the Jags played Jacoby Brissett and the Colts, and it was not pretty for Jacoby. And I think that's going to be the model that all teams are going to take playing the Colts this year.
When we come back in ESPN 690, going to do a little balling and falling. And Leonard Fournette, little story came out about him today. Going to get into that a little bit, has some sound bites. And we'll go from there. ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Jake Mitchell, and it's game day. The final preseason game for the Jaguars kicks off tonight at 7 o'clock on Fox. Being this is the last game of the preseason, a lot of guys are playing for a spot on the roster, and that includes backup QB Gardner Minshew, who's looking to solidify his position as Nick Foles' backup. Here's head coach Doug Marrone on his thoughts of the rookie.
I think, you know, we'd really like him, you know, to show us more, you know, at the game. I think that, you know, there's been times where, you know, you sit back and you feel good with the progression, and you're like, you know, hey, this, you know, we feel comfortable. He's coming along, and then all of a sudden, you know, you have a game, and it's kind of like a setback. Like, you know, what happened? That's not what we've seen during the week.
And in college football, the bookmakers are split on a favorite to win the national title between Alabama and Clemson. One of the two teams has held the number one spot in the AP poll for 83 straight weeks, which is a record since the inception of the poll. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com.
Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
We're happy to be joined by Jenna Lane of ESPN.
It's actually my first time interacting with Austin, too, so no relation here.
Well, Jenna, that was my first question was, have you been to any family reunions in Chicago? Because I don't think I've ever seen you before. I just want to make sure, though.
And by the way, Jenna, let's just make this perfectly clear. It's a really good thing you're not related to Austin.
Oh, wow, Brent.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
That's how you feel about it. Okay,
it's just a really good thing.
Off to a good start.
On ESPN 690.
Don't miss the epic summer clearance at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Lease a 2019 Hyundai Sonata SE sedan for $219 a month for 36 months. Home of the lifetime limited warranty. Visit JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
In an ocean of car dealers, There's only one Atlantic Infinity.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one for a luxurious showroom.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one with a summer sales event.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one fast, dependable service.
Follow the wave to the only one Atlantic Infinity.
And don't miss the summer sales event going on now at Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Hey, boss, you're not gonna believe this.
What now?
Remember Frankie, the guy we've been showing the ropes to?
Who?
You know, our protege.
Oh, yeah, Frankie. The next generation of crooks making us proud.
Yeah, not so much. Boss, he just got busted.
Hey, what?
Yup. Cops caught him. He was, boss, you might want to sit down for this.
Uh-oh. Sounds serious.
Yeah, they caught him breaking into our warehouse.
Oh, that little weasel. Of all the places to break into, he chose our warehouse? You just can't trust anyone these days.
Yeah, and he knew we had Safe Touch security monitoring the place with the two-way communicator, the video monitoring.
Huh. Serves him right for breaking rule number 1 in the Crooks R Us handbook.
Stay away from Safe Touch houses. Yeah.
Kids these days.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
Savings on top of huge selection, on top of rave customer reviews. That's how they do the National Clearance Event at Arlington Toyota. During the National Clearance Event, you can take your pick from over 1,000 new and pre-owned on Arlington's lot. I mean, come on! 1,000 vehicles. You know you're going to find what you want and save during the National Clearance Event at Arlington. Right now, during the National Clearance Event at Arlington, buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $18,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $18,888. Or buy a 2019 RAV4 XLE from just $24,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 RAV4 XLE from just $24,888. Plus, you get the Arlington Toyota $5,000 Advantage Club with your purchase. Just one of the tons of reasons why Arlington's earned 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 7,000 Google reviews. Arlington knows how to do the national clearance sale right, but you've got to get it while the getting is good. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online 24/7 at arlingtontoyota.com.
I think it's time to let go.
11th ranked Oregon, number 16 Auburn.
I think it's time to let go.
Kickoff is Saturday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ABC. Presented by Dr. Pepper.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jax.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
It's hard, man. People you grow up. I grew up with 20 years plus since kids, sleeping in the same bed, going to the same school. Things like that. Everyone's not gonna be on the same level as you. You know, you can always love them in your heart, but gotta keep a distance from them. You know, everybody doesn't have the same goals, not gonna walk the same paths as you. They have to go through their own. I have to go through my own things too. You know, it's no love lost. It's just you gotta distance yourself from some people.
Jacksonville running back Leonard Fournette, kind of just breaking it down a little bit. That is a little clip from the audio that we can watch and listen to. I believe next week, Brent Martineau sat down with Leonard Fournette one-on-one and did a pretty cool interview. So keep your eyes peeled to that. And, obviously we'll share that for all our platforms and everything. But it's a little preview for everybody out there. But since we're on the Leonard Fournette topic, an article got released today by the Bleacher Report, and I'll bring that up right now. And it's funny because the guy that wrote the article, who I didn't even, by the way, the article is called The Reawakening of Leonard Fournette, which is with Bleacher Report. And the gentleman that wrote the article, his name was Tyler Dunn. And I actually probably talked to Tyler Dunn probably about 40 minutes when the Jaguars played the Eagles. He was in the press box. And that was my first press box experience. And Tyler Dunn was in there. And the reason I know Tyler is because he used to work for the Journal-Sentinel in Wisconsin. Okay. And when I was getting drafted out of Murray State, he actually did an article on me. So, Mr. Dunn comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Austin, long time no see." And I'll be honest, Had no idea who this dude was.
Did you give him the hey?
Yeah, pretty much.
Up,
I'm like,
man?
hey, it's you. All right. A little finger point and everything, little gun, little smoking guns.
Yep.
And, but immediately he kind of gathered that I didn't recognize him. So he's like, yeah, I'm from the Journal Sentinel. We did an interview. I'm like, number one, you got a really good memory because I'm sure you do a lot of interviews and everything.
Right.
But yeah, we kind of talked a little bit and everything like that. He covers, he was in town, I think, I think he was in town for the article that he just wrote about Fournette.
Yep.
But also he lives in Buffalo now. I think he covers the Bills a little bit and maybe the Eagles as well because he was there working for the Eagles sideline as well. So really cool guy, really great article. Kind of gives you kind of the behind the scenes of what Fournette was going through a little bit with his mindset. And listen, I'll be the first one to tell you where I think a lot of times the fans expect a player, especially a high-profile player, especially a first-round pick like Leonard Fournette, to get drafted, to come to a team, and not only produce on the field, obviously, but also be like this model citizen, right? To be like this upstanding guy. And I got news for you. Not everybody's going to be a Tim Tebow when they come out of college and go to an NFL team. That's just the way it is. There's different upbringings, there's different environments, and there's different people that those people surround themselves with. So I think sometimes, and I'm not trying to make excuses, I think last year we saw with Fournette where, we saw him get in a fight in Buffalo. We kind of saw the controversy in Houston when he was sitting on the bench and everything. And Coach Marone and Tom Coughlin made it very, very knowledgeable that they weren't going to accept that kind of behavior this year. Right. So I'm not trying to make up excuses for everybody, but I think everybody matures at a different pace. And I think this year, Marcel, what we're seeing with Leonard Fournette, where he has kind of taken it upon himself a little bit. He has taken that next step, and it's kind of turning over a new leaf, and that's what the article showed as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's funny because reading through the article, or most of it, it was almost identical to kind of what we kind of talked about in our sit down with him a few days ago.
Okay, yeah.
But I completely agree 100%. I think it's one of those things where sometimes fans and even some of us media members to an extent kind of forget, like when we see these guys in the locker rooms, whatever, we sometimes can forget that they're like, young 20-year-old kids, especially from someone like Leonard coming from where he's come from. Being from, New Orleans, Louisiana, everything,
yeah.
You kind of get a little bit wide-eyed when you get into the league, and I think a lot of players do that. Mm-hmm. And do I think that excuses some of his behavior? Of course not, like you said. I was there in Buffalo when the fight happened, so I kind of saw, the I guess kind of the pressure building heading into that when that happened. And then, of course, in Houston, I was there as well, with him in the Yeldon situation on the bench, which, by the way, I didn't realize I was the common denominator there. But
coincidence.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, 2-7.
Yeah.
But I do think that between the stuff that happened last season and in the offseason, I think that he's really kind of showing a sense of maturity. Now, of course, it's easy to say the things. It's harder to live it.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy to dream a dream, hard to live it. But I honestly do feel the sincerity. When he talks about that kind of stuff. Some of the things you'll hear about in our interview next week in our Jaguars preview special. One of the bites, and we'll get to a little bit later. But he really seems to have like a different kind of mindset, like even checking and kind of rapping with him, kind of in Miami. I was walking around the team hotel and I saw him, and he's typically kind of when you see him, he's all smiling and everything. But sometimes when you catch him out, he's a little bit subdued. Like he's always been kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we stopped and we chatted for a couple of minutes down in the Miami gift shop.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's really serious about turning over a new leaf. I think a lot of things happened where he kind of was able to sit back and say, this is not, who I am, growing up kind of thing. And I honestly think we'll see a newer Leonard Fournette, not just on the field, but off the field.
And you mentioned turning over the new leaf. And it's like you said, man, you can say these things, but action speaks a little louder than words. Mm-hmm. And I think what we've seen from Leonard Fournette this year so far, at least, in training camp, he's making a habit of talking to all the kids, whether he's giving up his cleats, whether he's giving up his jerseys, just taking time for that younger generation, which I think is fantastic. So he's kind of taking it upon himself to do that a little more. I feel like the first preseason game we saw him with a headset on the sideline. He wasn't playing in the game, but wanted to stay. You want to stay in tune to it, right? He wanted to hear the play calling and everything like that. Wanted to support his teammates, cheer on his teammates. That's fantastic. Those are actions that I can point to and say, you know what, he is making the change. Yep. And then another big action as well is going to train in Wyoming, which you talked about a little bit as well, where, listen, I've never been to Wyoming, all right? I've been to Montana. I've been snowboarding in Big Sky. Love Montana. Love Montana in the wintertime. Not sure how great Montana is to just go train for a couple months and just get away from everybody. But that's what Fournette had to do. And that's again, that's him showing that he's trying to make a change. And I get it. People are listening right now thinking, well, he should have did that a long time ago. I understand that. But people got to get that the fact that everyone comes from different circumstances, backgrounds, and upbringings. And like I said before, not everyone's going to come into the NFL with a mindset like a Tim Tebow or, I don't know, name like your fearless leader or whatever, who's just this model citizen. That's not the way it always works. And especially when you come from college where, the college atmosphere, at least for me, and I think it speaks for a lot of football players, be here at a certain time. But guess what? You're a football player, all right? You're treated a little better than everybody else. Now, at Murray State, it's the basketball team, all right? Nobody could care less about Austin Lane at Murray State.
Come on, Ja.
Maybe Quincy Williams now. We'll see. I'm not sure. But when you're in like that big-time program like LSU is, when you have Lil Wayne rapping about you, like as shared in the article, when he was just in high school, those add things to the whole pot where, of course, you may be different than just like this perfect leader all the time. And I think the fact that, and he goes in this article a little bit that Tyler Dunn wrote, where he had to cut out some of his friends that he knew for the past 20 years. And I think it's a classic example of the crab pot mentality. Do you know what a crab pot mentality is?
Oh, yeah. Very familiar.
So I'm not going to show it right now because it'd be super aggressive, but I just got a tattoo a couple months ago, and it's got a crab on it, and there's a crab coming out of a crab pot. And basically what the crab pot mentality means is that if you throw a bunch of crabs in a crab pot, all they have to do is one by one climb out of the pot and you're good to go. But the crabs don't do that. The crabs will take the guy that's at the top that's trying to get out, and those crabs will actually pull him back down. Therefore, nobody gets out of the pot. Therefore, everybody gets eaten, basically. All right?
Yep.
And I think that, reading this story here, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, and I think that sometimes it can be hard for people to understand that. I was in a situation, thankfully I came from a pretty good upbringing. I have friends from high school to this day that I still talk to every single day, and I have to cut anybody really loose. But when you get to the league, everyone's trying to get a handout. Everyone's trying to take something from you.
Right.
Whether you come from a great upbringing or not, that's just the way it is. People want to buy a ticket to the ride, and they want to hitch their wagon to you. So that's also a lot of pressure. And, I think with Fournette now, like I talked about, going to Wyoming, kind of resetting his mind a little bit, going to train in Dallas a little bit, kind of saying goodbye to some of those friends. It's probably the hardest thing that he's had to do in his life is say goodbye to some of your friends that you've known for the past 20-something years. I can't imagine, man.
Yeah, and that is honestly by far, we talked to him for about 20 minutes. That is the number one statement that he made that kind of got me thinking, okay, maybe he's finally starting to get it. Because for NFL players, and you just mentioned it, the hardest thing for an NFL player is not necessarily knowing how to manage your money, but for all the guys that you grew up with, to kind of realize that, hey, we can still be friends. I can still love you and everything, but I'm in a little different situation, so I can't move like I used to move. Because a lot of these guys, they struggle with that. They say, hey, I got to, I've always been part of the boys, me and my boys, I got to still be with my boys type of thing. And I know even less than a year ago, Leonard Fournette went through this kind of thing where he deleted all the pictures on his Instagram, which was a good thing because he had, pictures of him and his boys on private jets with stacks of money and cars.
And I remember people thought it was because he's getting traded or something that. People were so taken back by that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think for him, that was kind of, okay, now he's starting to get it. Once you figure out how to think and how you can still be the same guy. And he said that. He said, I can still be the same guy. I can still love you.
Yeah.
But, I can't be around you. I got things going on over here, and being a father obviously changes that.
Of course.
Being a father changes everything.
I mean, look at Josh Allen right now. I think one of the most mature guys on that team as a rookie. I think he's showing instincts and maturity beyond his years right now. And listen, every guy is different. You know, like for me personally, it took me 3 or 4 years by the time I was on the way out to kind of have that maturity of how to act as a professional. I mean, on the field I did, but, you know, I'm still going to the beach bars and everything, living it up. And looking back on it now, I probably shouldn't have done that much. Maybe get an extra yoga session like Aaron Campman did, you know? But it's just, it's funny how it takes guys time sometimes to learn how to be professional. I mean, everyone's different. But we'll talk a little more about Fournette. We get that back after the break. Also, we got Ballin' and Fallin' coming up here on ESPN 690.
Oye, amigo, it is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Is Max Muncy a great name for a power hitter? 80% of the audience said yes. It's hard to get better than that, right? Max Muncy?
Well, let's see. Can we do better than that? Can anyone do better than Max Muncy?
Home Run Smith.
That's a great one, Chris. You did great work there. Home Run Smith.
The Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Tax problems can be extremely stressful and cause financial devastation. The tax attorneys at J. David Tax Law are right here in Jacksonville to be your personal advocate and resolve your IRS or state sales tax issues. J. David Tax Law focuses on your needs and case outcomes. Don't be fooled by these big out-of-town tax companies that only focus on getting you to sign up and pay without even working with an attorney. At J. David Tax Law, only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you. Get the help you need with tax debt, payroll taxes, bank levies, wage garnishments, tax liens, and unfiled returns. If you have federal or state sales tax debt, have a sit-down with J. David Tax Law. Your first step is a no-cost consultation. Call J. David Tax Law at 904-507-4777, 904-507-4777. Peace of mind only a click or phone call away, 904-507-4777, or go to jdavidtaxlaw.com.
In an ocean of car dealers, there's only one Atlantic Infiniti.
Only one Atlantic Infiniti.
The only one for a luxurious showroom.
Follow the wave to the only one
Atlantic Infiniti.
Where the summer sales event is going on now. 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Beards Jewelry announces our most exciting offer ever.
Get 5 years, 0 interest, no money down on any purchase.
This is the best deal of the summer.
Spread your payment out over 5 full years without paying a dime of interest.
Beards Jewelry, located at the St. John's Town Center.
Savings on top of huge selection on top of rave customer reviews. That's how they do the National Clearance Event at Arlington Toyota. During the National Clearance Event, you can take your pick from over 1,000 new and pre-owned on Arlington's lot. I mean, come on! 1,000 vehicles. You know you're going to find what you want and save during the National Clearance Event at Arlington. Right now, during the National Clearance Event at Arlington, buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $18,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $18,888. Or buy a 2019 RAV4 XLE from just $24,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 RAV4 XLE from just $24,888. Plus, you get the Arlington Toyota $5,000 Advantage Club with your purchase. Just one of the tons of reasons why Arlington's earned 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 7,000 Google reviews. Arlington knows how to do the national clearance sale right, but you've got to get it while the getting is good. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online 24/7 at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Van Berkel, CEO of Main Street America and chair of the 2019 First Coast Heart Walk. What if every step you take could save a life? When you sign up to attend the 2019 American Heart Association's First Coast Heart Walk on Saturday, September 21st, you'll be supporting scientific breakthroughs that keep more healthy hearts beating. Visit firstcoastheartwalk.org to register for this free event where every step you take brings us closer to ending heart disease and stroke. The First Coast Heart Walk takes place at Metropolitan Park and will feature fun activities the whole family can enjoy. By joining the First Coast Heart Walk, together we can save more lives by making cardiovascular research possible. Research that created the first artificial heart valve, research that can save children's and adults' lives, and research that gives us more time to create lasting memories with loved ones and friends. Be a Heart Walk hero and register today at firstcoastheartwalk.org because we're just steps away from a healthier tomorrow.
The First Coast Heart Walk is sponsored by Main Street America Group, Mayo Clinic, and Florida Blue.
Really thinking that he might go to the Clippers just because we weren't hearing anything about the Clippers, and real G's move in silence, and Kawhi Leonard isn't G.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do real G's move in silence?
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stugats. Weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick and Wingo. Marcel Robinson is in the house. He's definitely the coolest guy in that room. You're listening to Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Especially that's just like my first downfall ever in football. You know what I mean? You know, everyone always have their personal problems, but you know, football is kind of like a getaway for some of those guys who really love it. You know what I mean? I kind of had an off year, and it challenged me a lot towards the end of the season. You know, I had to fight. You know, a lot of things were going on, and just trying to get back in a better place for myself. You know, I have a family that depends on me. Number one, I have kids that depend on me. So at the end of the day, it's not just about me. It's about them that depend on me, and just trying to walk the straight and narrow path, man.
That is Leonard Fournette talking about turning over a new leaf, walking that right path. You know, he has little eyes on him now, watching him with the kids and everything. So, yeah, it's like we talked about this past break here, Marcel. I think in a guy like Leonard Fournette, you know, it may have taken him a little longer than people anticipated to kind of reach that maturity, to try to be a true professional. But it's like I discussed. I mean, it takes people different amounts of time to be a true professional. And let's remember, too. And listen, once again, not trying to make up excuses. Yes, when you get drafted to the NFL, there's a way you should act. And there's a way that you should represent yourself, your family, and the shield and the team that you're on. I understand all that. But everyone is different. Everybody comes from different circumstances. And let's remember, he didn't have really a guy to show him the way. Nope. Maurice Jones-Drew was gone.
And he had Fred Taylor when he came in.
And he had Fred Taylor. I think he didn't really have a lot of guys in general in that locker room that were, you know, of course, of like the older veteran leadership. I mean, you had Puz, but Puz was on defense. You know, like Mercedes Lewis was gone. You know, like all the vets that you could have had, you kind of waved goodbye to. So I don't want to say you were setting them up for failure, because at the same time, you're responsible for the decisions that you make and the circumstances that you find upon yourself. But they didn't do him any favors.
No, not at all. And I think that he also came in at a point where this team was really trying to figure out their identity off the field. You know, obviously the on-field identity is something that you kind of try to figure out every year. But off the field, I mean, you have basically no leaders in that locker room for the most part. I mean, obviously, yeah, you had a guy like Calais Campbell, whom he was locker mates with right next to last season. But at the same time, like you just mentioned it, they're in two different rooms. I mean, as far as you're a former player. I mean, you guys spend time in the locker room. Yeah, your locker's right here, but how much time do you spend at your locker? If your boy, if you know, like we see it all the time, we go in the locker room now. D.D. Westbrook's locker is on the complete other side of, you know, DJ Chark.
Yeah.
Guess where DJ Chark is most of the time when he's in the locker room?
Yeah.
He's at D.D. Westbrook's locker over here.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you have these guys. Everyone says, you know, they have leaders in the locker room, but at the same time, when you're in the locker room, you know, it's just like a lunch table. You know, this is where you're supposed to sit, but, you know, you're not necessarily around those guys all the time. And most of the leaders that we had were on the defensive side of the ball. We didn't have many offensive leaders. And not having a vet to kind of come in behind, I think not having that is one of the more underrated things in terms of coming into a locker room, because you need to have someone to show you the way, especially when you come in and, you know, you're such a high draft pick. You come in, you have like your boys, your agent, you know, your fans, and social media telling you, oh, you're the guy. Like, hey, don't worry about what everybody's talking about, man. You're the GOAT, you know, type of thing. And as much as people don't want to say that gets to you, it does. It creates a complex.
Yep, absolutely. And people can keep their eyes peeled and their ears perked to that interview with one-on-one Leonard Fournette coming out sometime next week on CBS 47, Fox 30, and all Action Sports Jax platforms. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Let's do a little ball and real quick here. We're kind of behind it, but my ball real quick, going out to Zach Bitter of Wisconsin. Wisconsin shout out, broke a world record for the 100-mile run. I'll say that again, broke the world record for the 100-mile run by running a time of 11 hours and 19 minutes. Is that good? Well, if you do the math, which I did, and I suck at math, think I got it right, though. He ran a 6:48-mile pace for 100 miles, breaking the record. Shout out to Zach Bitter. I guess lactic acid just doesn't apply to him.
Hey,
insane, dude.
Power to you, bro. Wouldn't be me.
Insane. I was on the treadmill today at the YMCA, doing about an 8-minute mile, just thinking about, all right, if I could do this for 100 miles? Yeah, probably not.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Just wasn't built for that, Marcel.
Nope, not at all.
What do you got for balling?
For my balling, I'm gonna keep it. At the team guy, I'm gonna give my balling to all of the Action News Jax employees that are gonna be braving this potential Dorian storm, coming in here working 85-hour shifts, sleeping in hallways and living off granola bars and bottled water. You got the troopers, man. I mean, it's very underrated. People don't realize how much work goes into it, but we got people that are putting their lives in danger to really bring kind of the best coverage of the storm. So don't text us, tweet us, and call us and be mad that The Price is Right or Judge Judy or whatever is not on because we're telling people about tornado risks, okay?
You know what? I think you're getting ready to leave here pretty soon at 5, the 5 o'clock hour. So go ahead and give us your falling while you're at it. Back to back, Marcel.
My falling is also related to the storm. Just because there is a hurricane coming in, you do not need to buy 18 cases of water, especially when you probably
out
live
of stock
at Publix, and you probably live off sodas.
Yeah.
Most of the year.
I agree with that. And speaking of out of stock, when is the Popeyes chicken sandwich going to be restocked? Because I haven't had that yet.
Hopefully never, because I'm tired of the traffic.
Oh, really? Have you had one yet?
Nope.
Me neither. See, I'm curious. Hopefully after this hurricane we can get one. When we get back, ESPN 690, we're going to go a little stay in your lane, talk to Mr. Brent Martineau, and maybe break down a little bit of the Chiefs-Jaguars matchup. We'll see. ESPN 690, we'll get back.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
School's back in session, which means your ride better be ready. At AutoZone, we've got the Duralast batteries you need to drive with peace of mind. They're proven tough, even in the most extreme conditions. That's because they're designed to improve performance and provide your ride with a powerful startup. And they're available only at AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Visit us at AutoZone.com and start the job fast with free same-day in-store pickup. Based on data from the NPD Group Incorporated, car care tracked 12 months ending December 2018.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
Football this weekend, and it starts tonight. #1 Clemson hosting Georgia Tech at 8 Eastern on the ACC Network, and a doubleheader on ESPN starting at 7 Eastern. UCLA at Cincinnati, then BYU hosting #14 Utah. As for the game most pro scouts will be watching this weekend, ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr.
Without question, Auburn and Oregon. Think about the intrigue of Pac-12 trying to become relevant. And you had the SEC with Auburn. You had a freshman quarterback, true freshman, and Bo Nix against Justin Herbert.
Mel Kiper on Golick and Wingo. That Auburn-Oregon game is Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern on ABC. All 32 NFL teams play their last preseason games tonight. The 100th NFL regular season kicks off 1 week from tonight. The Colts are still working out quarterbacks, looking for a backup for new starter Jacoby Brissett. They've already met with Matt Castle, Brandon Weeden, and Brock Osweiler this week. Pelicans forward Darius Miller expected to be out 7 to 8 months with a torn right Achilles tendon.
Stable 360 Protection, America's #1 ethanol treatment, recommended by the world's largest small engine manufacturer, Briggs & Stratton. It protects against gum and varnish, removes water, and cleans the entire fuel system. Every time you fill up, add Stable 360 Protection for the ultimate protection. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jags.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anna Jar and Levine studio.
This is Action Sports Jags on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Welcome back to ESPN 690. Marcel just left the building. We will be joined by Brent momentarily here in a second, but let me just go ahead and finish up my Fallen from the Ballin' and Fallen segment. And since the boss is out of the office, I figured we'd talk a little NBA, but unfortunately it's kind of under rough circumstances right now for Fallen. But Fallen, a couple stories here. Wilson Chandler of the New Jersey Nets suspended 25 games for violating the NBA's PED policy, which I guess was a result of him coming off a surgery and getting prescribed some kind of anti-inflammation pill or something like that, as he's claiming, where he didn't know it wasn't proper to be in the NBA. So Wilson Chandler's fallen, and also DeMarcus Cousins. There is a warrant out for his arrest right now. DeMarcus Cousins, of course, with the LA Lakers, who is out for the season now with the torn ACL, which he acquired kind of during seemed like just a pickup game at the YMCA. There's a phone conversation where he's threatening his baby mama. Not a good conversation. And now there's a warrant out for his arrest because of that phone call got leaked. So not a good day for the NBA. I was surprised with the 25 games for PEDs, because like PEDs in the NBA, Kuz, something you never really hear about a lot about.
Players are pretty good at least, abiding by those rules.
Well, and it's funny, are they good at abiding by the rules, or is it something where you don't really know the rules of the NBA? I'm going to be honest.
That could be it too, yeah.
I have no idea what the PED policy of the NBA is. I assume it's close to the NFL, but I have no idea what the street drug, policy is of the NBA, because, one would assume at least someone in the NBA is smoking weed, so the fact that you never hear these stories of guys, testing positive for weed or street drugs, it kind of begs the question, what is their policy? Maybe that's more homework for me to do tonight and have an answer for tomorrow. But speaking of homework and speaking of maybe writing speeches, we are joined now by Mr. Brent Martineau. Brent, how you doing, man?
Hey, what kind of notes do you want me to take tonight? I mean, Steph's going to lead the way on this Hall of Fame stuff, but you're next. You're in the hopper now. You got a couple of months. So I'll let you know how it goes, what you got to deliver, the talking points, the things that make people cry, pick up some tissues, things that make people laugh.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes for you, my friend.
I appreciate that. So be honest. I mean, do you have any part of the speech tonight? Like, are your hands on the speech, or did Steph take it upon herself to write it herself here?
No, zero. I have zero to do with the speech. She actually said they flew up earlier in the day yesterday, and I flew up last night, and she had delivered the speech to her parents just to kind of go over it. And I said, I don't want to hear it. I'll hear it for the first time tonight. So I have no idea. It's supposed to be 3 to 7 minutes long is what they tell you. Mm-hmm. Some people go obviously a lot longer than that, but I think she'll be probably more than 3 to 7 minutes. She's a math major, man. Okay. I think she'll get the numbers right and probably leave the words to a minimum.
And you have to be honest here. What are the Vegas odds for the over and under of the number of times that she says my adoring or my loving husband, Brent?
I'm just hoping I get mentioned once.
That can make for an awkward flight home if you don't, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like my boyfriend, wow, this guy in high school, he was great. Hey, yo, over here.
Yeah. Show me a little love. I'm not sure if you've been listening to the show today at all. We are trying our best here at ESPN 690, just trying to make it work is the slogan. But we had a great conversation, Marcel and I, about Leonard Fournette, and there's an article that came out today by Tyler Dunn, in the Bleacher Report, basically kind of going into the whole fact that Leonard Fournette took it upon himself, I guess kind of take a deep look at himself, kind of ditch some of the friends that he had growing up, obviously training in Wyoming, kind of doing basically like a hard reset, and we kind of teased it a little bit here, Brent, but you sat down with Leonard Fournette yourself, and that will be playing next week sometime. I mean, what do you make of the article, and just having talked to him a little bit, can you give us a little teaser of what to expect when that video drops next week of you talking to Leonard Fournette one-on-one?
Well, first of all, I thought it was a fantastic article. I thought you really did a nice job. And I love when the athlete opens up a little bit, right? Yeah. Don't you get the idea that Jalen Ramsey and Leonard Fournette are well-guarded guys? Like, they almost don't want to take everybody inside. Mm-hmm. And then I thought this article, however Tyler Dunn was able to get the access to it, I thought was really good. And I like it, man. It humanizes these guys that have been stars for a long time. They're really good athletes. And I think fans, and I know the media, I mean, I do at least, I'm a sucker for it. I like the human element of this. How can we relate? And the big thing is you can't relate. You can't relate to an athlete. And 99% of us cannot relate to what Leonard Fournette went through in his background and his life. I mean, if you read that article, I made my kids read this today.
Nice.
And just to show, because the thing is, like, especially like Ty, right? He's a sports fan now, and Kaylee loves going to the games. And if a guy fumbles a football or a guy has 60 yards instead of 120 yards, and the disappointment of last year, I think they should know where the guy comes from. Our kids don't have to go through that stuff, and we're fortunate not to have to do that. But there should be some perspective, and the fan line of that is sometimes skewed on perspective. And I get it, and that's just the way it is, and I think they get it too. But every time a guy is able to kind of unveil the curtain, peel back the curtain a little bit into his life, I think it's pretty telling. And, I got a little more respect reading that article from Leonard Fournette than I probably had before. I did sit down with him last week, and just to tell you the premise of my story with Leonard Fournette is basically I feel like he's misunderstood at times. You've got this perception of a guy who's been so disappointing. He came across the field and punched a guy. He sat on the sidelines with T.J. Yeldon at the end of last year, and he got his guaranteed money taken away. He's been disappointing. I've also always been a guy that stood up for his rookie season. I don't think people give him enough credit for his rookie season. He changed the dynamic of the Jags. They went to the AFC Championship game, not all because of him, but I think a big part because of him. So when I sat down with him, I wanted to capture this guy that I feel is sometimes maligned, yet at the same time, we have all these videos and all these pictures and all these tweets and moments of what he does for fans, like how he gives them the cleats and how he signs and always takes a picture. And, the recent one where the Philadelphia fan took the jersey and ended up selling it. But I think to me, there's this great dynamic of, okay, which guy is he? And that's why I wanted to sit down with Leonard Fournette. So that's kind of the premise of my story. But we actually got into a little bit of this stuff that was mentioned in Tyler Dunn's article. Not all of it. Tyler Dunn's article is way more in depth.
Sure.
But we got into a little bit of this stuff about loyalty. Like, how do you break those ties with guys that you grew up with? Because there's a loyalty to that, That's where you're from. And I thought the article was great. I think what he told us a little bit is fascinating. How he always tries to put people first, and so that's coming up next Wednesday night. We're doing a 1-hour special, and I was kind of hoping to keep everything until next week. But with this article coming out, at least we'll turn toward that next Wednesday night at 9:00 on CBS 47, and then we'll share it on the radio side too.
Yeah,
but you'll see. I mean, it's a lot. It's kind of my story is a little bit more. Man, the softer side, the lighter side. I don't want to say soft on a football player, but the lighter side of Leonard Fournette that people really don't see and don't know. And I just love the fact that Leonard is comfortable in his own skin. He's fine enough to admit that last year wasn't good. And this is a guy who's always had the spotlight on him. I don't know what it means, man. I don't know if he's going to have an unbelievable year. I do think the fact that he's in a good place, he's lost weight, he's paid more attention to becoming a good pro, a good player, that I think that can only help him. But this is a violent game. You never know if you stay healthy for the entire thing. And people are still going to plan to stop Leonard Fournette. So I think he's in a great spot to have a great year. I don't know if it's a guarantee he'll have a great year, but it obviously is pretty important to the Jags.
Brent, I want to keep this conversation going, especially with the whole, Leonard Fournette maybe being misunderstood a little bit, especially with an incident that I want to get into, and I want to get your thoughts about it. When he was playing for the Jaguars and literally punched somebody on the field in Buffalo. I want to talk about that. But speaking misunderstood, being a Wisconsin guy, Brent, here in Florida, one thing I don't really understand is the hurricane parties. I'm starting to slowly work my way to them now. I guess people love to party during the hurricanes, and what a better way to celebrate maybe a hurricane party with Dorian coming in than with a little Vida de Louis.
Nobody come between us. Can't make nobody come between us. Oh, cherry baby.
As the careless party now begin, see the beautiful ladies marching in. There's enough for everyone to win. We're gonna make this party the best thing happening. This is my favorite place. Nothing will replace, no. Nothing. Anything goes, gangsters rolling, half-face smiling, heads over, think of the rhythm, what you're drinking. Anything goes.
grab a drink, get a shot, and tip your star tenders.
Oh, I can jump in here, too. By the way, Vida de Luis recently got a 94 rating. A locally owned tequila in Jacksonville, made in Tequila, Mexico, shipped directly to Jax Beach. Make your own recipes with Vida de Luis tequila, one of the smoothest tequilas you'll ever taste. For locations, recipes, and merchandise, visit VitaDeLuis.com. Drink responsibly. And another note on Vida de Luis, we are going to make them part of our prize pack at our Action Sports Jax Stream 18. They're going to be out there, but the winners of our golf tournament are going to get a bottle of Vida de Luis. So that's pretty cool. Thanks to Vida de Luis for supporting our Action Sports Jax Dream 18 as well. Hey, you mentioned Wisconsin.
Yeah.
The weather here, man. Woo, the Midwest weather.
Oh,
I mean,
don't
it's
even
August,
tell me.
but it feels like October. It is unbelievable. Crisp, sunny, and at night a little cool. Gotta love it.
Yeah, I think I sweated through my shirt being outside for about 10 minutes today, Brent, so I'm glad to hear that the Midwest is treating you well. It's business as usual here in Jacksonville, just sweating a lot and just prepping for this hurricane to come through. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, that's kind of the news of the day, the Florida State, Boise State game getting, moved to Tallahassee now. But you mentioned Leonard Fournette a little bit here, Brent, and I wanted to get your take on this, your opinion, and I'm kind of surprised I haven't asked about this before, but when Leonard Fournette threw that punch on that sideline, we heard the outcry from the fans. There was a lot of, people called him a punk, and there was, I think, people called him a thug. It wasn't a good look for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I understand that. But, Brent, my question to you, and you know better than anybody, was what was the reaction inside that locker room? Because as a former player, and I watched that game live in Buffalo, and I watched that game, and I saw a guy who had his teammates back. Now, yeah, I'm not making up excuses for punching a player on the sidelines. You never want to do that because you get thrown out, and you're no good to your team if you get thrown out of the game. But at the same time, if I'm a player, if that's my teammate, the fact that he went out of his way, to try to have my back, that almost warrants, I think, a little respect being a teammate. What was your vibe from the team after that incident happened?
That's a great call right there, man. And I think you're right. I think inside the building, inside the locker room, not the building. The building wasn't so well received because there's such this fine line between being a pro, doing the right things, and having your team's back. There's a right way to do it and a wrong time to do it. And so this was obviously a mistake on Leonard Fournette's part from the outside world. And I think even probably from the Jags brass. I mean, listen, you can't do it. You just can't. So there's no justification of doing that. But I do think you're right about one thing. When he took a lot of heat, and I questioned him too, and I'll be the first one to let you know, when they as a captain last year, I think Leonard Fournette failed that team.
Yeah.
I don't think he showcased the we're in the sea very well at times last year, and that was one of the instances. But in the walls of that locker room, in the running back room, in their offensive room, and you can say this better than anybody, but you've been there. I think that is well received. I've talked about base brawls before, how they galvanize people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that moment galvanized because it was part of a messy season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I do think there was a bit of respect for Leonard Fournette. And he took the brunt of all that, right? I mean, he took everything, and it was a risk on his part to protect his teammates and take all the brunt of everything that came with it, including the suspension. So I do think there is this respect for him. And I found it interesting in that article today how a couple of guys talked about his ability to lead. Calais Campbell did, and that there's a magnetism about him. Well, I think that speaks to it a little bit, right? I mean, well, how can a 24, 25-year-old guy be a captain, a leader? Well, there is this magnetism to Leonard Fournette. There's a realness about him. He's a fun-loving guy, too. And I think he will tell us when I run this story next week how he likes to put other people first. Well, that's what leaders do. And so it's a bit conflicting from the outside world to the inside of that building.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right. You have a point, and it probably did go a long way. I'm not saying he's going to be voted captain again this year. I don't know how that will work out. I don't even think they've named that stuff yet. But I do think there is a respect for that in sports, not just in a football locker room, but in sports. So that's a complicated one, though, man, because it was just a part of everything that was so bad and not good.
Yeah.
And you can't do it as a pro, right? I mean, those are some of the things. He said it in that article. He's like, listen, from where I come from, that's what you do. Well, yeah, but you're not supposed to do it in this stage. You can't. No, you got to learn not to do that.
And I understand that, Brent. It is all about being a professional, but at the same time, and this is the NFL player. This is the former NFL player speaking in me right now. This isn't the journalist. This is the former player. I think if I'm in that situation, and I know everything that I know about Fournette, and he's one of the captains, and I see a brawl on the sideline. Say I'm in that brawl. Say I'm, there's pushing and shoving and I'm by the Bills stands and there's probably fans saying stuff to me too. I'm kind of cornered really. And say I see Fournette look at me and he doesn't come over and do something about it and he just stays on the sidelines or he just stays kind of back on the field. To me, that's going to draw more of a red flag than if he came over and threw a punch. Now, yeah, I'm not justifying him throwing a punch because like we just said, I mean, you can't throw a punch. You got to be professional. But if you would have came over, and maybe shoved somebody or just held somebody back, that would earn my respect a lot more than if he just stood on the sidelines and did nothing. And it's kind of like you mentioned, Brent, which I thought was very interesting that we're talking about right now. You kind of made it sound like he's not a rough around the edges type of guy, right? But he's not this guy who, and I've been comparing him all day on the show, but he's not like a Tim Tebow, right? Like he's not a clean cut leader. He's not like this classic quote unquote all-American type of guy, right? He's no. He's from a rough upbringing, I think, and he's from he had some friends that were kind of holding him down, everything like that. He's from a kind of a rough case scenario. But sometimes 50%
of the people that he knows are in prison.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean that kind of paints the picture right there a little bit for you. But but from that perspective, though, Brent, I think sometimes those are the type of leaders that maybe you want even more than those cookie cutter, clean cut guys, because number one, I think they can relate to a lot more people, right? If you come from a bad upbringing, I mean, then you know the value of hard work, tenacity, trying to see everything through. And I think you can relate to a lot more players than the guy who, maybe had everything handed to him and just kind of been this, quote unquote, like I said, again, all-American type of dude. So I understand where, Fournette may kind of have this appearance of sometimes he's rough around the edges. Maybe he's not the most personable guy unless you really know him. But at the same time, I think to those guys in that locker room, and like this is all due respect to Nick Foles too, because I think Nick Foles is a fantastic leader, and it takes all types. But I think there's a type in the NFL too for Fournette to be a leader as well.
Yeah, I think it's well said, man. I think there are different types. There is the All-American kid, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
I think everybody, every parent, every whatever wants your kid to be that.
Of course.
But then there's real life. There's real life, and again, I fully listen. I can't relate to that life. I really can't. I've been down to the 7th Ward in New Orleans. I've seen it, but I can't relate to that. I've been to back to Inglewood, California, with Marquise Lee, where he grew up in a gang. I mean, I cannot relate to it, man. I just can't. But
sure.
But I respect where they come from. I just really think it's hard to get the masses to understand that when we're talking about touchdowns, rushing yards, and fantasy football points. And I think that's the disconnect sometimes between our world now in sports and fandom or sports and even media, is that we want a cookie cutter player, and you just don't get it. And I do. There's something that's kind of lovable about Leonard Fournette in that way, and the fact that he owns it all. And I mean, what a great story for so many kids that grow up in that setting. I think Leonard Fournette is, regardless of what happened last year, regardless of what happens down the road. I mean, the way he's handled some of the pressures of what he's had to come through is, I think, pretty admirable in a way. So it's cool. It was a really good story. I think there's a lot to Leonard Fournette. I think it's a deep dive, man. There's nothing simple, and at the same time, there probably is a simplicity to it. He's just a fun-loving guy who likes to be around people and take care of people and play the game of football. But it usually seems more complicated than that.
Brent, during your one-on-one interview, did you do any shadow boxing with him?
No, I didn't. This time. No, I probably should have. I just didn't have enough time to practice. I didn't want to look so
That's
bad.
what I'm saying, man. Watching him play it, it's like, I think he's on a different level. So, you might want to practice a little bit with me or Kuz first, and then work our way up to the big dogs. But Leonard Fournette obviously not going to be playing tonight against the Falcons here in Jacksonville. A lot of the starters will not be playing. I'm not sure if you'll be watching the game. Probably not, Brent, if you're at the Hall of Fame ceremony. But what are some things quick to take away from this game tonight? The one thing I was talking about a little bit was Gardner Minshew. Obviously, he slated himself as the backup quarterback right now. In your opinion, Brent, I mean, assuming he comes out and has a decent night, I mean, are the Jaguars set right now at backup quarterback, or do they kind of look at that waiver wire a little bit when teams start making their cuts and maybe pick up somebody?
I think they're set right now because I think there'll be enough options out there in an emergency situation if you don't like your spot in your backup quarterback and you need it. Look what the Cleveland Browns are doing right now. It's Cleveland Browns? I think is it Cleveland who's bringing Osweiler and everybody in? Who's bringing
probably Indianapolis, right? I think.
I'm sorry. I was like just blanked on, but it is Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis. Yeah.
I was like, why the heck are the Cleveland Browns? But
Baker.
But yeah, the Colts because of the whole luck stuff. But
sure.
So they're bringing in everybody. Well, there's enough people to go through, but they don't like any of those options either. That's why they're bringing in everybody. That's what you got. So I don't mind the idea that they're fine. They're fine. And like we've all said, you've got to keep your fingers crossed. Now, if Nick Foles goes down in week 2 or week 3 or whatever, and then we have this discussion, I will tell you right now I won't have a confidence level that they can go 2-2 over a 4-week stretch with Minshew. I won't. Mm-hmm. So I think they should maybe make a move then. I just don't see any need to make a move, put on more money on your cap, and for a backup QB at this stage. I think you can make a move eventually if you need to and you get desperate down the road.
Well, and I think coaches kind of also have an ego, right? Like you drafted this guy late in Gardner Minshew. You drafted him late. You're trying to kind of bring him along a little bit and groom him to what you want. I think coaches have an ego where they want to see it through. I think the last
not only them, but the personnel people do. Yeah,
of course.
The GM, everybody.
I think the last thing you want to do is bring in another guy to that room and see what happens. But I'm going to be also watching, hopefully, and I'm praying, Brent. I hope Alex Magoo gets in tonight as well because I'm dying to see. I'm dying to see if he stirs the pot a little bit. I'm dying to see if he's going to get some money because I'm going to be honest. I thought about going to the game and selling my Alex Magoo Swagoo T-shirts. Unfortunately, the shipment didn't come in time, so to be determined when those go on sale. But I'm curious to see if he actually gets some playing time tonight as well.
Yeah, I do too. I'll be interested to see who shines in this game and how much of their mind is made up on different positions. I shouldn't say so many different positions. Yeah. There's some value in this game. Don't lose sight of that. I know it's not a fan favorite game. I get it. But there's some value in this game for the quarterbacks you just mentioned, but also for some other guys at the back end of the roster. So it'll be interesting to see how guys do. And if there's a guy we're talking about tomorrow coming out of that football game, I'll be pretty interested. All right, man, I've kept you probably long enough. You guys got to go to a break sometime, don't you?
Yeah, we have to go to a break actually right now, man. Good timing, man. He's always a professional and never stops. So we're going to head to break. Great chatting with you. Give Steph our best tonight and everything. Hopefully the over-under of you getting mentioned in the speech is at least 4 or 5. I'll take the over all day, Brent. And I think we'll talk to you tomorrow then.
All right, good work, guys. And a shameless plug, 6:30, an hour from now on Fox 30, we'll have countdown to kickoff, and then, of course, the game, the final preseason game tonight on Fox 30. Have a good one, fellas.
Thank you, man. That's Brent Martineau, like I always like to say, the hardest working man in sports media. When we get back, we can do a little Florida Gator chat. My thoughts on Felipe Franks. Also going to have a little stay in your lane for you. That and a whole lot more on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
I think it's time to let go.
Duke, Alabama, neutral site.
I cannot wait. I think it's time to let go.
Coverage begins Saturday at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ABC. Presented by Dr. Pepper.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Austin Lane from Action Sports Jax. Thanks for making ESPN 690 the fastest-growing sports station in Jacksonville. It was a lot of fun playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars for 3 years, and I'm having just the same amount of fun on the radio every single day with ESPN 690. So I'm reaching out to you to be part of our team and grow your business with ESPN 690. Give us a holler at 245-8732. That's 245-8732. We look forward to hearing from you and hope you join the team.
Our partners at BSN Sports, the largest provider of team sports equipment and apparel in the country, would like to thank all of the coaches out there who truly are the heart of the game. While BSN Sports is the best at equipping athletes with a one-stop shop for everything needed to run an athletic program, coaches are the best at equipping lives. And that's the real final score. Learn more about how BSN Sports can save you time off the field so you can impact more lives on it by calling your local BSN Sports sales professional or by visiting bsnsports.com today.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jax. Thank you for making ESPN 690 the fastest growing sports station in Jacksonville. Everyone is loving our in-depth coverage of the Jaguars, the NFL, and all things sports. Another thing our listeners will love, your business. Let's work together and get you on the fastest growing sports station in Northeast Florida. Call ESPN 690 today, 245-8732. That's 904-245-8732. Grow your business today on the new ESPN 690.
Hi, I'm Tom Van Berkel, CEO of Main Street America and chair of the 2019 First Coast Heart Walk. What if every step you take could save a life? When you sign up to attend the 2019 American Heart Association's First Coast Heart Walk on Saturday, September 21st, you'll be supporting scientific breakthroughs that keep more healthy hearts beating. Visit firstcoastheartwalk.org to register for this free event where every step you take brings us closer to ending heart disease and stroke. The First Coast Heart Walk takes place at Metropolitan Park and will feature fun activities the whole family can enjoy. By joining the First Coast Heart Walk, together we can save more lives by making cardiovascular research possible. Research that created the first artificial heart valve, research that can save children's and adults' lives, and research that gives us more time to create lasting memories with loved ones and friends. Be a Heart Walk hero and register today at firstcoastheartwalk.org because we're just steps away from a healthier tomorrow.
The First Coast Heart Walk is sponsored by Main Street America Group, Mayo Clinic, and Florida Blue.
Savings on top of huge selection on top of rave customer reviews. That's how they do the National Clearance Event at Arlington Toyota. During the National Clearance Event, you can take your pick from over 1,000 new and pre-owned on Arlington's lot. I mean, come on, 1,000 vehicles. You know you're going to find what you want and save during the National Clearance Event at Arlington. Right now, during the National Clearance Event at Arlington, buy a 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. Or buy a 2019 Tacoma SR5 from just $24,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Tacoma SR5 from just $24,888. Plus, you get the Arlington Toyota $5,000 Advantage Club with your purchase. Just one of the tons of reasons why Arlington's earned 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 7,000 Google reviews. Arlington knows how to do the national clearance sale right, but you've got to get it while the getting is good. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online 24/7 at arlingtontoyota.com.
Alexa, how do I drive more customers into my business?
First, people will need to hear about you. Then you need to be online where they look for you. Then you need
I don't have time for that. I need to run my business.
Okay, searching for a local team that can help.
Codan is now Local Solutions. Visit JacksonvilleLocalSolutions.com today.
That's what sleeping with a CPAP sounds like. If you can't use CPAP, imagine pressing a button and it sounding like this. That's sleeping with Inspire. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment that works inside the body with one click of a remote. That's right, just a button. If you have sleep apnea, great sleep awaits at InspireSleep.com. That's InspireSleep.com. Inspire. Sleep apnea innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep.
Talk to your doctor to see if Inspire is right for you and review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
Honda of the Avenues is seeing zeros. 0 down payment, 0 first payment, and 0 security deposit. This month, sign and drive a new Accord LX for just $269 a month with 0 do-it signing. Or buy with 0% financing at Honda of the Avenues, the Honda Giant.
2019 Accord LX, $269 a month for 36 months, plus tax, title, and registration, with approved credit through AHFC. Lessee's responsible for 15 cents per mile over 12,000 miles per year. 0% for 24 to 60 months on all 2019 Accords. 5% down, plus tax, tag, and fees. Valid on in-stock units only. See dealer for details. Offers end 9/3/2019.
The following message is sponsored by the Florida Ombudsman Program, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Are you a volunteer who loves a challenge? Do you have the talent and compassion to advocate for Florida's most vulnerable residents? Join a statewide network of volunteer citizens who help those who many times cannot help themselves. Call the Florida Ombudsman Program at 1-888-831-0404 or visit us at ombudsman.myflorida.com.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Jake Mitchell, and it's game day. The final preseason game for the Jaguars kicks off tonight at 7 o'clock on Fox. Being this is the last game of the preseason, a lot of guys are playing for a spot on the roster, and that includes backup QB Gardner Minshew, who's looking to solidify his position as Nick Foles' backup. Here's head coach Doug Marrone on his thoughts of the rookie.
I think, we'd really like him, to show us more, at the game. I think that, there's been times where, you sit back and you feel good with the progression, and you're like, hey, this, we feel comfortable. He's coming along, and then all of a sudden, you have a game, and it's kind of like a setback. Like, what happened? That's not what we've seen during the week.
And in college football, the bookmakers are split on a favorite to win the national title between Alabama and Clemson. One of the two teams has held the number one spot in the AP poll for 83 straight weeks, which is a record since the inception of the poll. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com.
Talking to Chris Long, have you at all had any itch about playing again?
I'm not going to lie, I get the itch from time to time. If I ever got an opportunity that was right for me, and I'd look at it.
Go Lick and Wingo, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 690.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jax.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Whole bunch of mistakes by both teams.
So stop playing with me. I do this.
Okay. Felipe has had a lot of fun talking to the cameras, his fans, opposing fans.
Felipe Franks, little Florida Gators talk right now. Big win for the Florida Gators this past Saturday as they beat the Hurricanes. Props to them for doing that. But what I have an issue with, and this isn't really part of Pump Your Brakes or anything, it's just an observation, and I may offend some Florida Gator fans, or some Florida Gator fans may agree with me. But I was not a big fan of how Felipe Franks, came across during that Miami game in Orlando. And listen, I'm the guy who's always saying players should celebrate. I've went on numerous rants about baseball teams, how they should let the players just be themselves. And I celebrate Baker Mayfield and all his craziness sometimes. I was a big fan of Johnny Manziel when he did his stuff. So you might be thinking like, well, Austin, you're kind of contradicting yourself by saying Felipe Franks, what are you doing? And maybe I am, but my problem with Felipe Franks is that you're doing this stuff when you didn't have the numbers to really back it up. All right? You went 17 for 27, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And if you watch that game, I think, it wasn't that great of an effort. So I understand you want to be hyped up and everything. You want to make a point, and you want to kind of showcase yourself on the big stage. I'm all for that, man. But the difference between Felipe Franks, then Baker Mayfield in college, or Johnny Manziel in college, or, I guess, just pick your flashy quarterback, is the fact that they backed it up. When Johnny Manziel was doing all his crazy stuff, all his antics, doing the money sign, he was a Heisman candidate. He won the Heisman Trophy. Baker Mayfield, the same thing. And I think with Felipe Franks right now, he's not in the Heisman talks. I don't think he had a Heisman-worthy performance against Miami. And if you like it or not, there is a double standard, I think, sometimes with quarterbacks. And I'm sticking my guns on this one where, yes, there is a double standard in how you come across, especially to your teammates. Now, I'm not sure what his teammates thought of the antics. I can tell you where if my quarterback back in college was doing all that stuff and he went 17 for 27 with 2 interceptions, I probably would have been like, hey, man, how about we relax a little bit and focus on the game because Miami's getting ready to upset us.
Well, and I think,
so let's keep it. What's up, man?
No, well, I'm trying to remember when this happened because I remember seeing it like during the game. I remember seeing him kind of talking to the crowd and bouncing around. I think it was I think it was literally right before he threw the second interception. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was right before that.
It was right before that because he did have a nice long field pass and they set up a touchdown off that. I get that, but you still had that one errant throw before that. So what I'm saying is, like, listen, I understand you think the world's against you and all the cameras are on you, man, but you almost lost to Miami, and it was a sloppy performance, not just from Felipe Franks. It was a sloppy performance all around. Now, yeah, the Florida Gators won, and when it's all said and done, we look back at the history books, we're not going to go, oh, you remember that game where there's an asterisk next to it? Florida won, but it wasn't a good game. Who cares? Florida's 1-0 right now. Miami's 0-1. Enough said. And Florida's got a pretty easy schedule now. They play UT Martin, who's in the OVC with the Murray State Racers, and then they're going to be at Kentucky, where I think Kentucky might be a little down this year. It's at Kentucky. It's going to be a 7 o'clock game on ESPN September 14th. And I'm sorry, but they have a bye week this Saturday, so they have a little break as well. So I understand all that. They have the momentum now and everything, but I'm just from a casual fan who doesn't have a stake in Florida or Miami or Florida State, it was almost cringeworthy when I was watching Felipe Franks last Saturday. And I don't necessarily know, why. I guess it's just the fact that maybe I feel like you should conduct yourself in a more professional manner, which is funny, me saying that of all people. But there's a time to celebrate. There's a time, to kind of stick it to the crowd a little bit, stick it to the cameras. But that time's got to come when you're the man. And I didn't see the man last Saturday. Not to say Felipe Franks can't be the man. Who knows? Maybe he comes out against UT Martin, balls out, and rolls that into Kentucky, and all of a sudden, he's the future of the Florida Gators. He's the next great quarterback. But just from what I've seen against Miami, I'm not ready to call him the man just yet. If I'm not ready to call you the man, then I wouldn't celebrate like one either. And I remember last year, Franks, he kind of got a lot of scrutiny. This is a guy who's heard it from, the Gators fans a lot here. And I remember watching a game where he had a pretty good, I think they were underdogs. He comes back, they win the game, and he kind of goes up to the crowd and just, goes, shh. And this is at the Swamp. This is in front of his own home fans. He's telling them to be quiet a little bit. See, from that perspective, a little aggressive. Telling your own fans to be quiet is a little aggressive. I see where he's coming from, but once again, those fans have every right to boo you. Those fans have every right to be critical of the way you're playing. They're paying the ticket. They're taking the ride, and if they don't like what they see, they're going to let you know about it. And I guess Felipe Franks has every right to react to them and tell them to be quiet, so be it. I'm just saying, once you start noticing the cameras are on you all the time, and you're doing these things, and you're doing these, you kind of showboating to the crowd when the cameras are on you, like we saw last Saturday, I feel like you take the distractions from that, and that hurts you on the field. Now, I may be wrong. Never played the quarterback position. I could be talking on my butt right now, but I think there's something to be said for that, because if you saw what happened when he was talking on the sidelines, what happened the next series? Interception. Now all of a sudden Miami's looking to drive and win the game. So it's just this is kind of like my come to Jesus moment, I feel like, here, Cruz, where I'm the old man sitting on the porch right now, and I'm telling kind of a kid that plays quarterback at the University of Florida that you should probably take it down a little bit.
Well, I was going to ask you, have you ever been a part of a team where somebody was doing something like this and maybe the coaches made a point to say, hey, stop?
Yeah.
Or have you seen a player doing it where a coach had asked them to stop doing it? Or
Sure.
do the coaches usually stay away from that stuff?
So it's a gret question. We have Dan Mullen's response to Felipe Franks, who we'll play in just a second. Every coach is different. And listen, if I was to show you my Murray State highlight film, I made Felipe Franks look like a choir boy. I'm saying every tackle for a loss, I was like snapping pictures and flexing. I was doing these crazy dances. Man, you thought I played for the University of Miami back in the 90s. Like, it was that aggressive, and our coaches loved it because, number one, we were having fun. Number two, we were winning ball games. And number three, my play dictated that, right? Like, my senior year, and I'm not trying to, toot my own horn or whatever, but like my senior year, I set the school record for sacks, okay? Well, every sack that I had, I was letting loose, dude. I was doing my crazy celebrations because I felt like that play warranted that. And I'm not saying Felipe Franks can't celebrate, but I'm just saying you have to be the man, or you have to have the stats to back it up. And that's how you're going to have your followers. That's how you're going to be a leader for the team, because it looks a little foolish if you're not performing well and you're trying to get all the attention on you. Here's what head coach Dan Mullen had to say about Felipe Franks.
I mean, you're going to play quarterback at Florida. That's part of the deal. You know, I get a lot of criticism. I'm sure I get a lot of criticism. I look after the game. I always think this, right? If you're favored to win the game and you win, but not by as much as you're favored by, you get a little more criticism. That really attack you on social media, I guess. No, but I think for him, when you're 21, you know, not just the criticism, because, you know, you're affected. I mean, everything is that way, right? I mean, these guys still wondering, make it sound terrible. I mean, these guys are like, boy, am I going to have a date on Saturday night this week? You know, or, you know, what girls might talk to me when I go out, or what, you know, what do my friends think about what I'm wearing or how I'm acting? You know, I mean, my wife loved me. You know, no matter what I do, she was going to love me no matter what. So I'm good to go. My kids, they love it. So I probably don't get caught up in as much as a 20-year-old does anymore, or 21-year-old.
Is that what 20-year-olds are thinking now? Like, what am I wearing in front of my friends, and who am I going to go out with?
They're probably more in tune. I think what he's saying is...
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but
they're probably more in tune. Like, you know, if I'm having a walkout, you know, are my friends going to be roasting me in the group chat? You know what I mean? If I get caught by media wearing something funny and the friends are roasting me, they're more in tune with social media.
No, and listen, and I understand that, and I understand the landscape has changed even when I played. You know, when I played in college, we didn't really have Twitter. We had Facebook, but it wasn't really used as a tool to build your brand and promote yourself. And that's why I am a fan of the players that celebrate. I am a fan of the players like Johnny Manziel, who had the money thing, or like Baker Mayfield. Even when Baker Mayfield was grabbing his crotch on the sidelines, I thought that was great. Like, I was good. You know, that's moxie, that's attitude, and I think the Oklahoma Sooners responded to that. Now, yeah, he got in trouble a little bit. I guess, like I said, there is a double standard at the quarterback position, and you kind of have to watch how you present yourself. I thought it was harmless. But
McSorley did it too with the home run hit every time
exactly,
they scored.
Yeah, McSorley did that as well. So, yeah, I'm all for quarterbacks doing that and players doing that because it builds their brand. It gets the eyes on them, and that's what you want. I'm just saying from Felipe Franks' standpoint, though, is, dude, I'm all for you getting the eyes on you. You should, man. You're the starting quarterback of the Florida Gators. Think of some of the guys that have come before you. You know, think of the Leaks. Think of the Tebows. You know, think of anybody you want to think about. That's great, and you should be proud of that. But at the same time, you got to remember, man, when you bring those eyes on you, though, as the quarterback of the Florida Gators, make sure that those eyes are coming on you for all the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. And I think right now with Felipe Franks, and if you went on Twitter after the game, you saw it first and foremost that people were talking about his ability to celebrate when, number one, the game was not won and he wasn't playing to the best of his abilities. I really need to find that highlight tape of me doing all my crazy celebrations, man. That'd probably make me some YouTube money right now.
Yeah. We can share it.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'll have to hit up one of my coaches or something like that, see if I can get that. Because it's like I said, and Coos, I'm not exaggerating here. How I wasn't suspended by the NCAA. Like, I understand, like, on the list of priorities, Murray State football at the very bottom. But some of my celebrations and some of my antics, and a lot of our antics on the defensive line, we probably should have got suspended a little bit. But needless to say, I didn't, and it all worked out in the end. Unfortunately, didn't have the social media platforms to promote that brand. When we get back, going to be in the last segment of the show today. Going to do a little stay in your lane. Going to give a little nod, a little homage to some people back in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and what they will go through to get Green Bay Packers season tickets. I'll explain when we come back on ESPN 690.
What do basketball, choir, drama club, and marching band all have in common? They're all high school activities that offer learning opportunities not necessarily found in the classroom. They take up just a fraction of a typical Florida high school's budget, and they go a long way to giving young people the tools they need to thrive. High school activities, they're more than extracurricular. They're extra important, too. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Hey, fantasy footballers, this is Brent Martineau. Pizza, wings, and ice-cold drafts at your upcoming draft. Let's make it happen. Host your party at Renna's in Neptune Beach, the newest of 5 locations in the area. Specials available for your draft party, plus Wi-Fi and televisions. Pick the players with the fastest 40 times at Renna's Pizza, family owned for more than 40 years. Want a fresh one? Then get to Renna's Pizza in Neptune Beach for your fantasy football draft party. And tell them ESPN 690 sent you.
Follow the wave to Atlantic Infinity during this summer's sales event.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one for a luxurious showroom.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one with a stress-free buying experience.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one fast, dependable service.
Follow the wave to the only one Atlantic Infinity.
Don't miss the summer sales event happening now at Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
There is one name synonymous with joint replacement excellence, and that name is Heekin of the Heekin Clinic. For 18 years, Dr. R. David Heekin and his staff have been the leader for treatment of hip and knee pain. Eliminating hip and knee pain through advanced surgical and non-surgical techniques has been Dr. Heekin's sole goal since retiring from the Army in 2001. If you're looking to ease your hip and knee pain, schedule an appointment today and call 328-5979 or visit HeekinClinic.com. That's HeekinClinic.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Austin Lane from Action Sports Jax. Thanks for making ESPN 690 the fastest-growing sports station in Jacksonville. It was a lot of fun playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars for 3 years, and I'm having just the same amount of fun on the radio every single day with ESPN 690. So I'm reaching out to you to be part of our team and grow your business with ESPN 690. Give us a holler at 245-8732. That's 245-8732. We look forward to hearing from you and hope you join the team.
Hey, what in the name of Lester Jackson are you doing?
Oh, hey, boss. Well, since these folks are out of town, I figured I had time to make a Sammy.
You what?
Yep, it's a peanut butter banana sandwich, just like Elvis.
Wait, when are the owners of this place getting back?
Well, the social media account says tomorrow around noon, so relax.
Huh. Well, don't leave a mess. That would be rude.
Boss, how is it possible in this day and age that folks like this don't have safe touch security?
Beats me. Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, from the two-way communicator to the crash and smash technology to video monitoring.
Hey, if these folks had safe touch, we wouldn't be within a mile of this place.
And that's why we live by the Crooks Are Us motto. Stay away from safe touch houses.
Yeah. Hey, pass the bread, will ya?
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
Beards Jewelry announces our most exciting offer ever.
Right now at Beards Jewelry, get 5 years, 0 interest, no money down on any purchase.
This is the best deal of the summer.
Take advantage of the rock bottom prices Beards is known for and spread your payment out over 5 full years without paying a dime of interest.
How about a $6,000 Tacori or Veragio ring? You pay just $100 a month. Or a pair of diamond studs for $3,000? You pay just $50 a month.
This month only at Beards in the Town Center.
Look at Jerry Jones' face when he said what he said. He looks pissed. He's had this man's back while paying him in excess of $5 to $6 million.
The Stephen A. Smith Show, weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Hi, this is Annika Sorenstam, and I'm a World Golf Hall of Famer, and you're watching Action Sports Jax.
Welcome back to the final segment of ESPN 690 Radio for the day. I'm Austin Lane, joined by my dude in the studio, Justin Coos, or the Coos as we call him. A little bit of recap on the show today. Big Jaguar. I don't call it a big Jaguars game. We'll just call it a Jaguars game tonight.
I thought you were going for it.
I know, I was going for it, but then I'm like, can I keep that up for like the whole break here and try to sell it to people to watch? Listen, people know what's going on. Either you're going to watch preseason game 4 or not going to watch preseason in game 4. But I think some of the things that if you are going to watch to keep an eye on is number 1, Taven Bryan. And something I haven't mentioned yet either. All accounts are saying that he's going to play tonight. That's what Doug Marrone told us a week ago. And I full-heartedly believe that. But at the same time, I'm curious to see if he actually does play tonight. Because if he doesn't play tonight, I would beg the question, is Marcel Darius more hurt than the team is letting on? Because that would be the only explanation why Taven wouldn't play tonight. Because he's going to be starting against Kansas City. Now, is this conspiracy theory? Is it tinfoil kind of talk, tinfoil hat kind of talk, possibly, but just keep an eye on it. If Taven Bryan doesn't see a lot of reps tonight, it kind of makes you wonder what's going on with Marcel Darius, but I expect to see a full Taven Bryan workload tonight. And listen, he has to build on last week. Last week, I thought I saw some great things. He made some plays in the backfield. He got some push in the backfield, but everyone's talking about those 2 penalties. And even though they're aggressive penalties, which I can live with more than I can live with like the mental lapse penalties of being offside and things like that, you still have to clean them up, and I think Taven Bryan will be the first person to tell you that. So I am watching Taven Bryan tonight. Can he get a sack? Can he make a name for himself a little bit and just try to build that confidence going into week 1 against Kansas City, because he will be on the team, make no mistake about it. And also I'm going to watch Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew is a guy who's kind of been building and building and building week by week here. And granted, he's been doing that without the starting ones. He's been doing that with a bunch of 2s and 3s, a backup offensive line, backup wide receivers. So I'm going to watch Gardner Minshew tonight to see if he's gained even more confidence going into the regular season. Obviously, if we don't say his name at all when Kansas City comes to town throughout week 16, that's going to be a good thing, but it's always good to have the backup. It's always good to have the A machine on the table, but with the B machine in the drawer, just in case you need him. So I'm going to watch Gardner Minshew as well to see how he does tonight. And Terrell Pryor is another guy we talked about a little bit today. Terrell Pryor intriguing from the size standpoint. I mean, if you're to put all the wide receiving group in a lineup, in a police lineup, Terrell Pryor is the guy that's going to be sticking out. Terrell Pryor is the guy that's going to be the intriguing one. And due to injuries and circumstances, I think beyond his control, he hasn't played a lot in this preseason. And I don't think he's a lock to make the team. I think he has a lot of things working against him, whether it's not being a special teams guy, whether it's costing him.
Sorry, not to cut you off. Tad just tweeted out the Jags that are not expected to play.
Perfect. Thank you very much, man. My dude, what do we got tonight?
Pryor's on that list.
Pryor's not playing tonight.
Yeah.
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 I think his back's kind of. Can you quick name off the list?
Sure. Foles, Pryor, Lee, Westbrook, Chark, Connolly, Ramsey, Boye, Davis, Blue, Hayden, Wilson, Fournette, Harrison, Herndon, Allen, Jack, Ryan, McCray, Williams, Toll, Can, Linder, Norwell, Shatley, Robinson, Taylor, Richardson Jr., O'Shaughnessy, Cole, Swaim, Oliver, Ngakoue, Campbell, Smoot, Jones, and Darius.
Leon Jacobs on that list? No, I didn't hear Leon Jacobs. I don't think he's on that list.
Let me make sure, but I don't see him on here.
If you people wanted any more, listen, Josh.
You're about to go off.
I'm about to go off so hard here. Okay, got to lock it back in. Josh Allen gets drafted, first round. The next day, I sit on that football field and I say what, Coos? I said 3-4 defense. If you people, and I'm saying you people, need any more initiative, any more, look over here, look over there, that they're not going to play at 3-4 this year, listen, Leon Jacobs, who is supposed to be the starting strong side linebacker, is now playing in this preseason game. He's now going to get reps in the 4th preseason game. Your quote-unquote starting strong linebacker? I think not. I think there's going to be a lot more 3-4 defenses than people are letting on. And I'm tired of trying to make my point, Coos, and I'm tired of always trying to be right. But that's just what I'm saying.
I'm like triple checking just to make sure.
Just to try to prove me wrong. Actually, Leon Jacobs isn't playing tonight.
Sorry. He's actually, no, but I don't see him on
All right,
this one.
So keep an eye on Leon Jacobs tonight, too, a guy who was a rookie last year, got a lot of playing time for the Jacksonville Jaguars at that strong side spot. I think if he does play tonight, maybe if it's not a misprint or whatever, but if he does play tonight, that kind of goes to show you where the Jaguars are with their mindset and their defense, where you better believe Josh Allen will be getting some reps at that, you can call it a strong side linebacking spot. I'm just going to call it an outside linebacker in a 3-4. Let's get into our stay in your lane real quick. Coos, give us some music. Love it. Okay. Cruise control. This is actually more of a serious one, but I have to give this guy props. So NFL free agent Ryan Russell wrote a first-person essay detailing that he is a bisexual. And this is a guy who's a free agent right now in the NFL, and he's trying to get a job. So props to this dude for having the courage to, number one, be comfortable with yourself enough to announce, this breaking news, especially in it's definitely a toxic masculine-driven league. But number two, and it kind of share a quote here that from the essay that Russell said, and I quote, "This is the last time I will ever interview for a job anything other than my full self. Out of love, admiration, and respect, I want the next team to sign me, to value me, and for what I do, knowing who I truly am." So Ryan Russell, man, props to you for coming out, kind of the closet, being bisexual, man. That's awesome. And I think, it's going to be the trend for maybe more players to come out if they're feeling that way about themselves. I think no NFL player should ever have to, kind of hide who he is, basically, in honor of trying to get a job. So shout out to him. Real quick then, pump your brakes. Green Bay Packers are having their tickets, season tickets, are incredibly hard to get. So hard that the waiting list right now is at over 130,000 people.
It's insane.
35-year-old Matthew McLaughlin of McFarland, Wisconsin, went on Craigslist, if I have this story right, and basically posted this to try to get season tickets. 1, I'll pay someone $10,000 to take their spot if they're under 1,000 on the wait list. To pull that off, he'll have to legitimately change his name to theirs so the Packers won't know if it's a different person buying the tickets. Can't really do that. Number 2, he'll pay an older person with season tickets. This is not a misprint. $109,000. Is this right?
Yeah.
$109,000 to leave him the tickets in their will. But the Packers know they have strict rules about this, and he'll have to cover. But he says that he's going to cover the fees to have them adopt him if need be. $109,000 along with the fees to adopt him for Packer season tickets. And number 3, if a single woman or man has season tickets, he'll pay $10,000 to marry. He'll pay them $10,000 to marry them. Then get divorced and transfer him the tickets during the settlement. Quote, "We can time it correctly so we can maximize our joint tax refund too." Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, apparently. My God, man, I understand Packer season tickets are hard to get, but my word. Kuz, your thoughts?
That's a hardcore fan. Like, have you been a fan of a sports team enough to be willing to, like, sacrifice like that?
No. No, I'm not going to offer to marry somebody and get a tax break out of it while we're at it. Not going to have somebody adopt me or put it in their will. Just not going to do it. Also, not going to spend over $10,000 on season tickets.
It's impressive.
Well, on top of that, you have to still have to pay for the tickets as well.
I wonder if he could, in a way, sell the ones that he doesn't go to and make his money back.
You would hope so, right? Like, at least kind of comp some of that money back?
You hope.
Well, I don't think we have to hope because it's probably not going to happen. This was taken down from Craigslist. So Matthew McLaughlin, may I suggest that you come down to Jacksonville and become a Jaguars fan? Where
they're a little bit cheaper.
Season tickets are a little cheaper, and I'm sure they're still up for grabs right now. Call your local ticket office and check that out. Well, Kuz, this was a fun day today. We did Hurricane talk, a little Jaguars talk, a little quarterback talk, a little Leonard Fournette talk, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. And tomorrow we have a special guest, Cecil Shorts, slated to be on the show talking about his Justin Blackmon article. I want to definitely get into that. But for tonight, everybody have a great night. I'm Austin Lane, Justin Kuz on behalf of Stuart Weber, Marcel Robinson. Have a great night.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The first big weekend of college football kicks off tonight. Number 1 Clemson hosting Georgia Tech. ESPN's Mark Packer reveals the one team that might be the biggest threat to the Tigers.